Good morning to everybody. South Annex is ready whenever you all are.
Good morning, Officer Milton.
Good morning.
All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and begin with our state all-purpose calendar for today, May 31st, 2022. This is Judge Jesse Law, and as I understand it, we're going to begin with South Annex. All right, let's see. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Who do we have at the South Annex?
Good morning, Your Honor. We have before you position number 8, Ms. Brown.
Ms. Brown. Okay, thank you. And who's representing Ms. Brown?
I am Judge. Good morning.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Finling. Welcome back to the last day of May. And
Thank you, Judge.
what is your announcement for this case?
Yes, Judge. This is going to be an arraignment.
An arraignment?
Yeah, and there don't need to address. Do not need to address bond, Judge.
All right. And do you waive a reading of the accusations?
I do.
Thank you. All right. Miss Alexis Brown, good morning. My name is Judge Law. Your case number is 22 CR 001-736F. Ms. Brown, I'd like to remind you that this is an active criminal case against you. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say about the facts of the case, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and Mr. Zach Finling will be representing you. I understand that you plan to enter a plea of not guilty and have your case scheduled for trial. In that case, in this particular matter, you were formally charged with theft by shoplifting and criminal trespass, allegedly occurring on March 16, 2022 in Fulton County, Georgia. Upon your entry of a not guilty plea, the case will be scheduled for trial before the division judge. At the time of the trial, the prosecutor, the Solicitor General's office, will have the complete burden to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. If the prosecutor succeeds, you could be convicted of one or more of these offenses and face a penalty of up to a year in prison and/or up to $1,000 fine for each convicted offense. Given this information, how do you plead?
She's talking to you.
Given this information, Ms. Brown?
Ms. Brown, look at the judge.
Given this information I just provided, Ms. Brown,
Ms. Brown. Ms. Brown.
how are you pleading?
If you
Yes
could
or
please,
no? Yes or no?
Miss Brown, when we just spoke.
All
Your
right.
Honor, can we go to the next one, position 23, Ms. Jones, Ashanti
All
Jones?
What position did she say? 23?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Ashanti Jones, your case is 22 CR 003-140F, in which you are charged with possession of marijuana less than 1 ounce and possession and use of drug-related objects. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. Mr. Zach Finling is your counselor.
Your Honor, I'm position 23.
I'm sorry.
Ms. Jones, that's okay.
Right? Ms. Catrice Hearn is your attorney.
Yes, Your Honor, and that'll be a negotiated plea.
All right, thank you. Okay, Ms. Jones, for purposes of the plea, could I please place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Segura, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
All right, and what is the offer for Ms. Jones?
The state's offer is 12 months to serve 24 days, credit for time served 12 days, balance suspended, and stay away from the Texaco located at 2995 Headland Drive, East Point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. That is our understanding of the plea. We do accept that plea. It is a time served, balance suspended, Judge, and that's it.
All right. Mr. Shanti Jones, you've been sworn. Have you consumed any medication or alcohol beverages recently?
No, ma'am.
And are you satisfied with the explanation and representation of attorney Catrice Helen?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you planning to enter a plea that is voluntary, knowing, and completely in which you've been informed of your rights?
Ma'am.
I'm sorry?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ms. Jones, just to remind you that if you decide to enter a plea today, you will have to give up your constitutional right to go back to court, to have a trial before a judge or a jury, to be able to have the assistance of counsel to challenge the state's evidence, present your own defenses, examine witnesses, confront your accuser, and have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to waive these rights? Repeat. Are you prepared to
Yes,
waive
ma'am.
these
Yes,
rights?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Please put your arms down. Thank you. How do you enter, what plea do you enter for one count of possession of marijuana and one count of possession and use of drug-related objects?
Yes.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 24 days, credit for time served 12 days. Your time at the jail is complete. If you have no other cases holding you, you will be released within 24 hours. The remainder of the 12 months is suspended, but you must stay 200 yards away from the Texaco gas station at 2995 Headland Drive in East Point. If you return to that property, you will be arrested again. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Next, we have position 24, Ms. Jones, Alyssa Jones.
And that's mine as well. I'm position 21 through 40, Your Honor.
Okay, got that. Thank you.
And it's a negotiated plea, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Alyssa Jones, case number 20 CR 004756F. Ms. Jones, you have a right to remain silent about the facts of the case. Anything you say, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Ms. Catrice Helen. This is a case in which you were charged with criminal trespass causing property damage, giving false information like a false name and date of birth to an officer, and a second count of giving false information to a law enforcement officer. This allegedly occurred on July 6, 2020 in Fulton County, Georgia. May I place you under oath for purposes of the plea? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Segura, again, what is the offer for this case?
The state's offer is 12 months to serve 112 days, credit for time served 56 days, balance suspended, a stay away from 4358 Scott Circle, East Point, and no further contact with Harold Bannister. Harold, common spelling, Bannister spelled Bannister. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Helen?
Yes, Your Honor. That is our understanding of the plea. We do accept that plea. We stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID. This is a time served, balance suspended plea. So that's it, Judge.
Ms. Jones, have you consumed any medication or alcoholic beverages recently?
No, ma'am.
Have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with Ms. Helen?
Yes, ma'am.
If you decide to enter this plea, you would have to knowingly and voluntarily waive your constitutional rights to go back to court, to have a trial before a judge or a jury, to confront your accuser, challenge the state's evidence, present your own defenses, examine witnesses, and have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
Is anyone forcing you to take a plea today?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Segura, are we proceeding with all three charges?
Yes, this is concurrent order.
Okay, so this is a concurrent sentence for all three charges. How do you plead, Ms. Jones, to one count of criminal trespass causing property damage, giving false name and date of birth, and giving false information to a law enforcement officer.
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 112 days, credit for time served 56 days. Your time at the jail is concluded and the balance is suspended. You will be released within 24 hours if you have no other cases holding you at the jail. Once released, you must stay away from 4358 Scott Circle in East Point. That means staying 200 yards away from that location, and you cannot have any contact with Harold Bannister. If you attempt to communicate with Mr. Bannister or you trespass at the location at Scott Circle, you may be arrested again. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next, we have position 28, Ms. Scott.
And that's a negotiated plea as well, Your Honor.
All right. We have Faith Scott, 22 CR 002-933Y, accused of 4 misdemeanor offenses from May 14, 2022. Ms. Scott, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Ms. Catrice Helen. This is going to be a negotiated plea. May I place you under oath? Ms. Scott, do you solemnly swear and affirm that this testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Segura?
For all 4 charges, the state forfeit is 12 months to serve 36 days, credit for time served 18 days, bannings probated, 6-week anger management, 50 hours of community service, a stay away from Dunkin' Donuts, located at 682 Boulevard, Northeast Atlanta, and no further contact with Naeem Turk. Naeem spelled Naeem Turk, Turk. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. That is our understanding of the plea. We do stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID. We are asking that the probation fees to be waived. And if the state is amenable, once Ms. Scott completes these conditions, if it can be non-reporting.
Any objection to non-reporting, Mr. Segura?
No objections.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Segura, no objection. I will waive her, let's see, she's got to go into a 6-week anger management program. I will waive her probation fees for the next 5 months, which is June, July, August, September, October. By the end of October, she has to complete all her programs. Otherwise, she will continue on probation and start paying probation fees from November 1st onwards. Do you understand, Ms. Scott?
Yes, Your Honor, I understand.
All right. So, Ms. Scott, have you consumed any medication or alcoholic beverages recently?
No, Your Honor, I have not.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you satisfied with your legal representative?
Yes.
All right. And Ms. Scott, if you decide to take this plea, you would have to give up your constitutional rights to go back to court, to have a trial, to have the assistance of counsel so that you could challenge the state's evidence, present your own defenses, examine witnesses, confront your accuser, argue before a judge or a jury, and have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is anyone forcing you to take a plea today?
No, Your Honor.
How do you plead to 1 count of criminal trespass, simple battery, obstruction of a law enforcement officer, and violation of the rules regarding pedestrian on a sidewalk?
Guilty.
Your sentence will be concurrent for all 4 charges. It's 12 months to serve 36 days, credit for time served 18 days. The remainder of the time you will be on probation. If you have no other cases holding you at the jail, probation will begin and you will have to report to probation next week. Do we have a good address on Ms. Scott?
No.
I do, Your Honor.
Right. Is it her current address?
The 280 Northern Ave,
Yes.
Avondale Estates.
No, I don't live there no more. I don't have an address.
Right now, Ms. Scott, are you homeless?
Yes,
Can you give us a good number, a good working phone number?
I can't, I don't have it.
All right. Ms. Scott, do you have an email?
No, ma'am.
All right. We're going to have difficulty placing you on probation if you don't have an address, a phone number, and email.
I'm sorry.
We cannot place you on probation if we do not have a way
Okay,
to
you can
contact
use-
you.
You can use, my mother's number, I guess.
You
Six-
cannot guess. You have to be sure because we need a way to reach you.
Okay, 678-234-0315.
What's mom's name?
Osaze Scott,
Spell it. Spell your mother's name.
Osaze. Scott.
And do you keep in contact with her quite often?
Yeah, I do. I keep in contact with her.
All right. You will report to probation by next Tuesday. Today
Okay.
is May 31st.
Okay, yeah, yes,
No,
sir.
actually, I forgot, today is Tuesday. Do we have probation services? Yes, Ms. Demby? Ms. Demby? Yes, good morning. We have Ms. Scott at South Annex. She's going to be released within 24 hours. She doesn't have a address, phone number, or email, but she's provided her mother's phone number. Did you record that?
Yes,
Okay. When does she have to report to probation?
June 13 at 9:30.
At 9:30.
Her first report date is June 13 and then June 30th. Okay. At 132 Mitchell Street.
Okay,
All right. Ms. Scott, your first report date to probation will be June 13 before 4 p.m. And you must report to 132 Mitchell Street in Atlanta, Georgia. Do you understand?
yes, Your Honor.
And then it will give you another report date, which should be June 30th. By then, you should give us all your verifiable contact information. While you're on probation, you will complete a 6-week anger management program at your expense, complete 50 hours of voluntary community service, and you cannot return to Dunkin' Donuts at 682 Boulevard in Northeast Atlanta. You're also to stay away from Naeem Turk. I'm assuming he's someone who works at Dunkin' Donuts. You cannot have any contact with this person. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
I will waive your probation fees for the months of June until the end of October 2022. Try to complete all of these programs by the end of October. Otherwise, beginning November 1st, you need to continue reporting and start paying probation fees. If you complete everything by the end of October, your probation will be non-reporting. Do you have any questions about your sentence?
No, Your Honor.
That concludes this case.
Thank you, Judge.
Position 34, Ms. Tiffany Thomas.
34.
And Your Honor, this is a negotiated plea.
Okay. Ms. Tiffany Thomas, case number 21 CR 005-911H. Ms. Thomas, my name is Judge Lal. I'd like to remind you that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. Representing you is Ms. Catrice Helen. I understand this is going to be a negotiated plea. May I place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You have one count of criminal trespass against you. So I'll hear from Mr. Segura first. What is the representation of the offer, Mr. Segura?
Right, the state's offer is 12 months to serve 24 days, credit for time served 12 days, balance suspended, a stay away from 935 North Avenue Northwest, and no further contact with Michael Grimes. Thank you.
I just want to clarify, Mr. Segura, you said balance suspended?
Yeah, initially said that's probated because before there was condition, but after some communications, we took that out.
Understood, Judge. Yes, Judge, that is our understanding of the plea. We do accept that plea. We do stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID, and it is a time served balance suspended offer.
Okay. Ms. Thomas, have you consumed any medication or alcoholic beverages recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood everything that's going on so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with the representation of Ms. Helen?
Yes, ma'am.
If you decide to accept this plea, you would have to give up your right to go back to court, to have a trial, to present your defenses to a judge or a jury, to be able to challenge the state's evidence, to be able to have the assistance of counsel to examine witnesses and confront your accuser and argue your case to a judge or a jury. You would also have to give up the right to have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you entering this plea freely, knowingly, and voluntarily?
Yes, ma'am.
And is anyone forcing you to take this plea?
No, ma'am.
How do you plead to one count of criminal trespass?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 24 days, credit for time served 12 days. The remainder of the sentence is suspended, so your obligations for this case is over. However, you need to stay away from 935 North Avenue in Northwest Atlanta. If you return to that property, you could be arrested again. You're
Okay.
also to stay away from Michael Grimes and not to communicate with him in any way, form, or manner. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. Can I ask how long is that? Because he is my baby father, my 3-year-old father. How long do I have to stay away from him?
You have to
that's-
stay away, you have to stay away from 935 North Avenue. And if you don't stay away from Michael Grimes, he will need to obtain a protective order against you.
It's permanent. It's permanent,
Okay,
constant, okay?
okay. All right, thank you.
All right, we'll go with that one. It's permanent, as Miss Helen says. Okay,
All right, thank you.
all right. South Annex, we have the one young lady who has not entered a plea yet, is she still planning to address us, or would she like to?
Come on, Ms. Brown.
All right, Ms. Brown, I was asking you, how were you going to plead to one count of theft by shoplifting and criminal trespass after I've advised you of your, of the issues?
Yeah.
How do you plead?
Your Honor, I said I didn't do it.
Miss Brown,
I know.
I understand that you hurt your arm, but
No, I hurt
the
my
judge,
arm.
the judge is
Who did it?
asking whether you plead guilty or not guilty. You told me you wanted to plead not guilty. So if you could tell that to the judge.
I just want them to stay away from me and leave me alone forever.
All right. Mr. Finling, your client is not entering a plea. Do you want to file a waiver of arraignment, or would you like to reset this case to Thursday?
If I could reset it till Thursday, and I'll go talk to her, Judge.
All right, we're going to reset it to this Thursday SAP. All right, thank you.
I'll be back in a little bit, Your Honor.
Oh, you have more?
I just have one more, but I have to go and locate.
No problem. See you soon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So this one's going to be reset to June 2nd, and I have 3 South. 3 South, who do we have, please?
9, Mr. Carson.
If the defendant could sit back about, okay, the lighting isn't very good. Whose client is this? Mr. Finley, is that your client?
Yes, Judge.
And could you, oh yeah, that lighting's gotten better. And what's the last name again?
Carson.
Carson. Sam Carson.
Fawcett,
Yes, ma'am.
with an F as in Frank,
C as in Charlie, Carson.
Yes.
Position 9.
position 9. Okay.
This is a negotiated plea, Judge.
Oh, Carson.
Yeah,
All right, Mr. Sam Carson, my name is Judge Law. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, ma'am. I can hear you.
Okay. And Mr. Finling, you said this is going to be a negotiated plea, okay?
That's correct. That's correct, Judge.
Mr. Carson, your case number is 22 CR 003-036D, in which you've been accused of criminal trespass on May 17, 2022. First of all, Mr. Carson, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say during this proceeding, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Mr. Zach Finling. Understand this is going to be a plea. So for purposes of the plea, please raise your right hand so I may place you under oath. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Repeat.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Ms. Sari, good morning. What is the recommended offer?
Yes, good morning, Judge. The state's recommendation is 12 months to serve 60 days, credit for time served 15 days, the balance suspended, and a stay away from Revival Lofts at Methodist Center. And the address is 159 Ralph McGill Boulevard in Atlanta.
Could you repeat the name of the business?
Yes, it's Revival Lofts.
Revival Lofts. Okay. All right. Mr. Finley?
Yes, Judge. And that is our understanding of the offer, of which we do agree. And additionally stipulate to the factual basis, ID and venue.
Thank you. Mr. Carson, have you consumed any kind of medication or alcoholic beverages recently?
No, ma'am. I received medication. That was about it.
All right. After consuming the medication, do you still understand the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you, are you satisfied with Mr. Finley?
Yes, ma'am.
And is anyone forcing you to take a plea today?
No, ma'am.
All right. If you decide to plead guilty to the charge of criminal trespass, you will not be able to have a trial before a judge or a jury. You would have to give up that right. You would also have to give up your right to go back to court, to be able to have the assistance of counsel, to challenge the state's evidence, confront your accuser, examine and cross-examine witnesses, argue your case before a judge or a jury, and waive your right to have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to one count of criminal trespass?
I plead guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 60 days, credit for time served 15 days, which means that you have about 20 plus days left. Is that correct, Mr. Finley?
15, Judge.
Okay, he has 15 more days to serve.
That's correct, Judge.
All right.
No
You have 15 more days to serve at the Fulton County Jail. Once you've completed the 15 days, the rest of your sentence will be suspended. However, once you are released, you cannot return to the Revival Lofts at 159 Ralph McGill Boulevard in Atlanta, Georgia. If you return to that property, anywhere near that property or at the property, you will be arrested again and brought back to jail. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, that concludes your case.
So, again, please.
You have 15 more days.
15 more days. Number
1-5.
three, next. Number 3, Mr. Bays is next.
Oh, there go my brother.
Who do we have, please?
Hey,
Hello, Mr. Finling, is this your client?
Yes, Judge.
And his name, please?
I believe
Enoch
that Mr.
Baston Jr.
Yeah, Mr. Baisden, I believe, position 3.
All right. This is Mr. Enoch Basden, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Junior. I'm a junior, ma'am.
Repeat.
I say I'm a junior. Me and my
Okay.
dad got the same name, ma'am.
I'll address you as Mr. Basden with case number 22 CR 003-038J, in which you've been accused of misdemeanor terroristic threats and violation of pedestrian rules regarding darting out in traffic. This allegedly occurred on May 17th, 2022. Mr. Basden, you have a right to remain silent about the facts of the case. Anything you say during this proceeding, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Mr. Findling. This is going to be a non-negotiated plea. Is that correct?
That's correct, Judge.
All right. So, Mr. Basin, first the prosecutor is going to tell me what is the recommended sentence, and then Mr. Findling will give me an alternative sentence. I will let you know which recommendation I will accept before I proceed with this hearing. Ms. Sowry?
Yes, Your Honor, the state's recommendation is 12 months to serve 90 days, credit for time served 15 days, the balance probated, and a 12-week anger management course. Your Honor, in this case, Officer Bryan observed two males in a verbal altercation. Both parties were separated, but the defendant kept darting out into traffic, and he stood in the middle of the street in an attempt to confront the other individuals. And while the officers were investigating the scene, the defendant threatened to look up one of the officers' information and shoot him and his family when he got out of jail. The defendant also threatened to have the other officer shot while on duty. And these statements were captured on body cam. This defendant has over 45 cycles. In the last 5 years, he has had 4 terroristic threat arrests. He has a 2021 terroristic threat guilty conviction. He has one open actually here in Fulton County from 2018. He also had other felony terroristic threats, one in 2011. That was a guilty conviction. He served a year and 4 years probation. And in 2013, he had another felony terroristic threat. So, Your Honor, due to this defendant's history, that's why we're recommending the jail time that we have recommended. And we do object to any type of probation as non-reporting or any fees being waived due to his repeat offense. Nothing further.
And under your recommendation, he would have 30 more days to serve at the jail?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Then placed on probation and 12 weeks anger management.
That's correct.
All right, thank you. Mr. Findling, what's your recommendation?
Yes, Judge. As previously stated, the state's asking for 90 days, which after the 2-for-1 would mean that he would serve 30 additional days. I am asking for him to get 60 days, which after the 2-for-1 would mean he'd only have 15 more days. He does live at home with his mom. His mom is 99 years old, fastly approaching her 100th birthday. She does have dementia, and he lives there with her and is one of the main people that looks after her and takes care of her. So he is anxious to get out and be with his mom. So I am once again asking Judge for that to be reduced to the 60 days. Additionally, asking that once he does complete the anger management, that he could be on non-reporting. And I understand the state is asking for the probation fees not to be waived, but I am asking for them to be waived as finances are an issue in Mr. Basin's life. And while he has no problem being on probation out of the gate, he can't financially keep his head above water if he has to pay.
All right. I'm looking at the time that he spent in the Fulton County Jail alone, and I'm not certain how he is the main caregiver. First of all, I'm also looking at the numerous times that he has been booked in and the fact that he's got an excess of 40 arrest cycles. I'm going to go with the state's recommend, and given the egregious nature of the alleged facts, threatening violence towards 2 members of law enforcement who were simply trying to break up a violent altercation. Given these factors, I am going to go with the state's recommendation of 12 months to serve 90 days, which means he has 30 more actual days to serve at the Fulton County Jail. Once he's once he's completed the 30 days, it will be remainder balance on probation. He will, I will waive his probation fees, for the first 6 months, which is going to be June, July, August, September, October, November. He will be given 6 months to complete a 12-week anger management program, report to probation every day. And once he's completed with the 12-week anger management program, I will place his probation on non-reporting. During that 6 months, he's to get a job as well as attend his anger management classes. And after that, his probation will be non-reporting. So that is the recommendation that I would pose. Mr. Baden, is this something you'd like to consider?
I already got a job, man. I work at the airport. I've been some days off. I got a job.
Mr. Baisden, the judge is just asking if you'd like to move forward with your guilty plea.
I do the whole match, bro. It
Mr.
don't
Baisden.
matter to me, bro. It doesn't matter to me.
Mr. Baisden, please.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, bro. I do the whole
Sir.
9 days. I don't care. I
If
do
you
the whole
could,
9 days.
Mr. Baisden, if you
I'm
could.
not scared of. I'm not scared of prison, man. I'm
All right.
not, bro.
Mr.
I'm not.
Baisden, anything you say can be used against you, so please.
Man, I don't give a fuck, bro.
All
I
right.
don't give a fuck. I'ma still get out regardless. She can't give me no life saving. I don't give a fuck.
Okay.
I do not give a
Mr.
fuck.
Baisden, all right.
All right.
I don't.
We will reset his, if he doesn't want to take the plea, we can reset his case, and that will be reset to June 9th.
I do see one or you in the bitch. I don't give a fuck.
Case is reset to June 9th,
Hey,
and we will reconsider his plea at that time. We will give him credit for the additional time that he is at the jail. So, Mr. Basin, if you're not prepared, yeah, he's not prepared. We just reset it to June 9th for the plea. All right. 3 South, do you have anyone else?
Yeah, I got number 6, Mr. Braxton.
Position 16. Was that correct? 16, 1, 6?
No, 6.
Number 6.
Number 6, okay. All right, Mr. Sanchez, Corleone, Braxton, is that correct?
yes, ma'am.
All right. Mr. Braxton, my name is Judge Lal. Your case number is 22 CR 003016G. Mr. Braxton, you've been accused of escape from custody or confinement and obstruction of a law enforcement officer. We are going to address a non-negotiated plea. First of all, I'd like to remind you that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Mr. Zach Finley. I'm first going to hear the recommendation from the prosecutor, and then I'm going to hear the alternative recommendation for a sentence from your attorney. I will let you know which recommendation I will accept, and then we will move forward from that point. Ms. Sowry?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is 12 months to serve 60 days, credit for time served 16 days, and the balance suspended. Briefly, Your Honor, the defendant was in custody on 6 warrants in multiple counties. While in handcuffs and in custody at Grady, the defendant slipped his wrist out of handcuffs and ran down 5 flights of stairs. He does have an open 2021 battery family violence cruelty case and a 2021 felony theft by shoplifting case that's open. So, Your Honor, due to the nature of this incident, the defendant attempting to flee from officers and escape from justice, that's why we're recommending the additional jail time. Nothing further.
All right. Okay, so he would have about what, 13 days left?
Correct, 13 or 14.
Okay. And then this will complete the case, correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Is he on hold for other cases then?
I do not see any holds, but I would defer to the defense.
All right. Mr. Finley?
Yeah, I do not see any holds, Judge.
All right. But he has other open cases.
That is correct.
He does, which I made clear to Mr. Braxton, and he adamantly stated he does want to move forward.
Okay. All right. And what's your recommendation, Mr. Findlay?
Yes, Judge, I'm asking for time served on behalf of Mr. Braxton. Obviously trying to have one less thing that he has to worry about while in there. He does have a serious leg injury. He's really hoping to get out as soon as possible. He also has been attacked multiple times at the jail and is an easy target as he's unable to move around. Obviously, I did make sure Mr. Braxton understood that he does have additional open cases and, you know, impact taking a plea, but he did say he wanted to move forward. But once again, asking for the time served, Judge.
And I'm sorry, Your Honor, that theft by shoplifting felony, there is a hold for that one.
Okay.
And that would be 22 CP 209121.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, Judge, I understand he wants to move forward. I just don't think that's in his best interest. So
All
if
right.
possible, I would like to speak to him again, just to really emphasize that this is kind of what would be best.
Do you need to speak to him now?
I would like to speak to him. I don't believe taking this plea is in his best interest. And I'd just like to.
Okay.
Again.
Let me see. All right, go ahead. 3 South, do you have another case for me to address?
That's 21 through.
Okay. Who's hosting? Mr. Jordan, could you place Mr. Findling and 3 South in a breakout room, please?
Thank you.
Hey, Joe, do position 36, Tucker.
36.
And that's a negotiated plea, Your Honor.
And was that at 3 South?
Oh, this courtroom 2.
Courtroom 2. Okay. All right. 36.
And I apologize, Judge, for Mr. Tucker, he's position 36 and 37.
Okay. Got it. Thank you. All right. This announcement is for everyone in Courtroom 2. Good morning. My name is Judge Jessie Law, and we are addressing what we call our state all-purpose calendar. These are a list of misdemeanor criminal cases in which the individuals named as defendants have already been accused and provided a bond in these cases. Today, we are addressing each case to see if you would like to consider a plea offer from the prosecutor and enter a plea of guilty or no contest to the charges in exchange for a recommended sentence. Otherwise, we can also arraign your cases, meaning that after being advised of your rights, we will then accept a plea of not guilty and schedule your case for a trial before a judge or a jury. In either event, please remember that you have a right to remain silent about the facts of your case. Anything you say about the underlying facts of your case, your statements can and will be used against you, especially during this recorded live streamed proceedings. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one of the attorneys from our public defense office or a conflict defense list will be representing you. We have position number 36, Mr. Jaleel Tucker, case number 21 CR 003515F, in which he has been accused of simple battery and simple battery domestic violence. Your attorney, Mr. Tucker, is going to be Patrice Helen, and you've been reminded of your right to remain silent. Ms. Helen, what's the announcement for Mr. Tucker on position
36 and 37 are negotiated.
37,
Your Honor.
yes. What was the announcement? I'm sorry, Ms. Helen, I spoke over you. What was your announcement?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Both are negotiated pleas.
Okay, and you're right. He has a second case, 21 CR 003533F, in which he's accused of simple battery domestic violence from March 31st, 2021. Okay, this is a negotiated plea. So Mr. Tucker, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide during the course of this plea hearing will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Mr. Segura, yes, what is the recommendation for the two cases involving Mr. Tucker?
For both cases, the state's offer is 12 months to serve, 356 days, credit for time served, 178 days, and bond suspended.
Yes, Your Honor. That is our understanding of both pleas. We do stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID for both cases. Both cases are a time served, balance suspended offer.
All right. Have the victims been advised of this recommendation in this sentence, Mr. Segura?
I'm uncertain, but he's on, I believe, on hold for several felony cases, so I don't think that'll be a concern.
He does have felony holds, Your Honor.
I see. Okay. All right. Mr. Tucker, from what I understand is that you do have other matters holding you at the Fulton County Jail. But if you decide to accept this plea offer for both these cases, this will resolve these cases off your list. Is that your understanding? You need to say yes or no.
Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Tucker, have you consumed any medication or alcohol beverages recently?
No.
And have you understood what's been going on with regards to these two cases and your other case?
Yes.
And are you satisfied with the representation of your attorney, Miss Helen?
Yes.
If you decide to take this plea offer, you would have to give up your constitutional right to go back to court, to have a trial before a judge or a jury in order to contest both these cases. You would also have to give up your right to have the assistance of counsel, to cross-examine witnesses, examine other witnesses, confront your accuser, present your own defenses, challenge the state's evidence, as well as argue your case before a judge or a jury. You would also have to waive your right to have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up all these rights in these two cases?
Yes.
Is anyone forcing you to take a plea today?
No.
And you are taking this plea freely, voluntarily, and knowingly?
Yes.
How do you plead to case number 21 CR 003-515F, in which you've been accused of simple battery and simple battery domestic violence?
Guilty, no.
It's guilty for both cases.
How do you plead, Mr. Tucker?
Guilty.
How do you plead to case number 21 CR 003-533F for simple battery domestic violence from March 31st, 2021?
Guilty,
Your sentences for both cases is 12 months to serve 356 days, credit for time served 178 days. You have served out the time for this, for the sentences in both cases. So both cases are closed. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, next case is 38.
And that is a negotiated plea, Your Honor.
Thank you. We have case number 22 CR 002-955J, State versus Dontavius Wells, accused of battery, domestic violence, and theft by taking from July 1st, 2020. Mr. Wells, you have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Catrice Helen. May I place you under oath, please? Please raise your right hand. Do you, let's unmute Courtroom Two. Deputy, thank you so much. Mr. Wells, do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yeah.
Repeat.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's very muffled. You
Yes.
need to repeat. Okay. Mr. Segura, what is the recommendation from Mr. Wells?
The state's recommendation is 12 months to serve and credit of time served 365 days. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. That is our understanding of that offer. We do stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID. This is a time served, balance suspended offer.
All right. And does he have any other holds? All right.
Yes, Your Honor. He does have other holds.
All right. So, Mr. Wells, first of all, have you consumed any kind of medication or alcoholic beverages recently?
Yeah.
All right. And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yeah.
Are you satisfied with the representation you've received so far?
Yes.
If you decide to take this plea, this will close out this case. However, you would have other matters still detaining you. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
So are you proceeding with this plea freely, voluntarily, and knowingly?
Yes.
Repeat.
Yes.
Is anyone forcing you or inducing you to take this plea?
Oh, ma'am.
If you decide to take this plea, you would have to give up your constitutional right to a trial by judge or jury, your right to have the assistance of counsel to challenge the state's evidence, present your own defenses, confront your accuser, examine witnesses, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to 1 count of battery, domestic violence, and 1 count of theft by taking?
Yes.
Your sentence is time served. That concludes this case and it is closed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, going back to number 6, Mr. Braxton.
Did you say 6?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so we're back at 3 South.
This is it's going to be an arraignment, Judge. I
All right.
spoke.
Okay. Mr. Sanchez Corleone Braxton, you've been advised of your right to remain silent and your right to counsel. This is case 22 CR 003016G. Mr. Braxton, you've been accused of escape from custody and confinement and obstruction of a law enforcement officer, allegedly from a May 13, 2022 incident in Fulton County, Georgia. Do we wait for reading of the accusations?
You, Judge.
All right. Mr. Braxton, these are the 2 misdemeanor charges brought against you, and you are presumed innocent until the case goes to trial, at which time the state would have to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. If the state succeeds in its burden of proof, you could be convicted of 1 or more of these offenses and face a penalty of up to a year in prison and or up to $1,000 fine for each convicted offense. Given this information, how do you plead?
Plead not guilty.
All right, sir, thank you. Your case has been arraigned and it's going to be further notice for trial. That concludes this case. Thank you.
All right, next we got number 40, Mr. Woodard.
I heard 40. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor, and that's a negotiated plea.
Okay. This is State versus Tony Anthony Woodard, case number 19 CR 0015238, in which Mr. Woodard has been accused of theft by receiving stolen property, a misdemeanor, and 1 second count of theft by taking, allegedly from December 7th, 2017 in Fulton County, Georgia. Mr. Woodard, you have a right to remain silent about the facts of the case. Anything you say about the facts, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Ms. Catrice Helen. Mr. Woodard, for purposes of the plea, may I place you under oath? May I place you under oath, Mr. Woodard?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Not yet.
Have you heard me so far? Mr. Woodard, have you heard what I've just said about your case and your rights?
They might have froze, Judge.
Well, you may be right. No one's moved. Okay. Mr. Woodard, again, I'd like to ask you, did you hear me when I advised you of your case and your rights?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. In that case, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We're going to hear the recommendation for your sentence if you decide to plead guilty to the charge of theft by receiving stolen property and theft by taking. Mr. Segura?
And the state's offer is 12 months to serve 24 days, credit for time served 12 days, balance probated, and anti-theft course, and no further contact with Mario Powell. Common spelling.
All right.
Yes, Your Honor. That is our understanding of the plea. We do stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID. We are accepting that plea. It is probated, so we are asking for those probation fees to be waived. There is one condition, and we're asking that once the condition be completed, if it can be non-reporting, if the state is amenable.
Any objection, Mr. Segura?
No objections.
All right. I will waive probation fees for the next 5 months up to and including October of 2022. If he completes the anti-theft course during those 5 months, then his probation will be non-reporting. Is that acceptable?
Understood, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Woodard, have you consumed, can you hear me, Mr. Woodard?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you consumed any medication or alcoholic beverages recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with your attorney, Miss Helen?
Yes, ma'am.
Is anyone forcing you to take a plea today?
No, ma'am.
And are you doing so freely, knowingly, and voluntarily?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Woodard, if you decide to enter a plea of guilty, you would have to give up your constitutional right to go back to court, have a trial before a judge or a jury, confront your accuser, present your defenses, examine witnesses, have the assistance of counsel to present your case to a judge or jury, and have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to waive these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to the 2 counts brought against you?
Guilty.
The sentence is going to be 12 months to serve 24 days, credit for time served, 12 days. You will be placed on probation and you will report to probation. Do we have a good address on Mr. Woodard?
Mr. Woodard, I have a 913 Garibaldi Street. Is that still a good address for you?
Yes, ma'am.
And I still have a 404-389-4025 as a good contact number for you.
I changed my phone number.
Can I get that contact number for you?
910
Okay.
246
Okay.
8835.
Okay, I have that information, Judge.
All right. I hope probation recorded as well. All right, Mr. Woodard, you would have to, while you're on probation, you will report to probation no later than June 13. Do you understand?
June 13th, yes, ma'am.
June 13.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, June 13th at 132 Mitchell Street in Atlanta, Georgia. You will be on active probation to complete an anti-theft course. Your probation officer will refer you to the class to take this class. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. Could I ask you a question?
Sure.
Where's Mitchell Street?
Repeat.
You wanted to know where's Mitchell Street, Judge?
Mitchell Street is in downtown Atlanta next to the courthouse.
All right.
But you'll go to the office number 132.
No later than June.
June 13, 13.
Right.
All right. You will need to do the anti-theft class recommended by a probation officer. And while you're on probation, you are to have no contact with Mario Powell. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Your probation fees will be waived for every month up to and including October 2022. So you better get that class finished before October 2022. Otherwise, you will continue on probation and start paying probation fees from November 1st, 2022. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
If you complete the class, your probation will be non-reporting, which means that you don't have to report to probation, although you are still on probation.
You know how long the class lasts?
Only after the class. The class will be held. Your probation officer will tell you where it is.
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
All right, next we got 31, Mr. Smith.
31, okay.
That's a negotiated plea, Your Honor.
All right. Let me see.
And I will say, Judge, Mr. Lonnie Smith has his jaw wired shut, so he's having a hard time talking. But I just wanted to let you know that he's just
okay. Thank you for that. Let me just do one other housekeeping matter. South Annex, I'll be with you shortly. Position 11, I have Edwin Coleman. Is he at 3 South or in Courtroom 2?
He's gonna be on the 4th floor. He's my next stop.
Repeat again.
Yeah, he's on the 4th floor. He's gonna be where I go next. After I get done with this case.
Mr. Johnson, it may be another 5 minutes. So
Okay, I appreciate it.
it's 10:08. Are you on hold for your next hearing? Have you told the judge in the next case that they're holding for your report?
Oh, I'm fine, Judge. We're good.
Okay, all right.
Thank
So
you.
going back to 3 South, again, Ms. Helen, repeat your client's name.
Which
Repeat.
position again, Judge?
3 South, the individual whose jaw is wired shut.
Oh, Mr. Smith. That's Lonnie Smith, position 31.
Thank you. Lonnie Sherelle Smith is accused of simple battery domestic violence in case number 19 CR 003514C. Mr. Smith, can you hear me clearly? All right. Now, because of your medical issue with your jaw, when I ask you a question, your response is yes or no. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right. If you can also shake your head if it's a no, or nod your head if it's a yes. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right. But I need to be able to see you clearly on the screen. Understand? You can put your mask back on. Understood? I just want to make sure I can see your head nodding or shaking. Okay. So, Mr. Smith, you have a right to remain silent, which means that you do not talk about the facts of your case. Do you understand? Anything that you say about the facts of your case, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and we have Ms. Catrice Helen, who will be representing you during this proceeding. This is going to be a negotiated plea, which means that you have decided to plead guilty or no contest to the charge brought against you for simple battery domestic violence from January 15, 2019. So we are first going to hear from the prosecutor. For purposes of the plea, may I place you under oath? Raise your right hand if you agree. Mr. Smith, I need to place you under oath. Please raise your right hand if you agree. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge? All right, thank you. You put your hand down. Mr. Segura, what's the recommended sentence?
The state's offer is 12 months to serve 136 days, credit for time served 68 days, balance probated, and FBIP, a stairway from 3416 Chancellor's Drive, Powder Springs. No further contact with Amber McGee, common spelling, and third-party transfer of the child pursuant to court order. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. That is our understanding of that plea. We do accept the plea. We stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID. This is a time served but probated offer. So we are asking for those probation fees to be waived. And that if the state is amenable, once he completes the FFIP program, can it be non-reporting?
I will waive all probation fees, but he has to report every month. He'll be on active probation.
Did you hear that, Mr. Smith?
Yeah, for how long I'll be on probation?
The full year. Did
I'm
you hear that,
waiving
Mr. Smith?
I'm waiving all probation fees, but you have to report to probation every month. Do you still want to move forward with the plea?
Yes.
Was that a yes? Okay. Ms. Helen, shall I proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Smith, did you hear the judge? Would you like to still move forward?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
And do we stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
We do, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Smith, first of all, have you consumed any medication or alcoholic beverages recently?
No.
And and based on your conversations with your attorney, are you satisfied with her representation? Mr. Smith, is anyone forcing you to take a plea today? And are you entering this plea willingly, knowingly, and voluntarily? if you enter a plea today, you would have to give up your constitutional rights to go back to court, to have a trial before a judge or a jury, to give up your right to confront your accuser, examine witnesses, have the assistance of counsel to present your case or argue your case before a judge or a jury, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights? How do you plead to one count of simple battery domestic violence?
I do guilty.
I heard guilty. Is that correct?
Yes.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 136 days, credit for time served 68 days. Your time at the jail is concluded, and if you have no other holds, you'll be placed on probation. You have to report to probation no later than June 13th, 2022 at 132 Mitchell Street in Atlanta, Georgia. Do you understand?
Yes.
Do we have a updated address, phone number, and email for Mr. Smith?
Miss, I have an address as well as phone number. Mr. Smith, did you want to give me your email address?
My first and last name, 26, yahoo.com.
I got that.
All right, so it's Lonnie Smith 23 at yahoo.com.
2626.
Oh, 26 at yahoo.com. All right. All right. While you're on probation, you'll be required to complete a 6-month domestic violence intervention program, which includes classes every week. You will pay for those classes yourself, and you have 30 days to enroll in that program. So by your second or third probation visit, you must confirm with probation that you've already enrolled in the domestic violence intervention program. Do you understand?
Yes.
While you're on probation, you will stay away from 3416 Chancellor's Drive in Powder Spring. Do you have anything at that location?
No.
So you have to stay 200 yards away from that location. No contact with Amber McGee. You have to stay away from Amber McGee and not contact her in any way, form, or manner, in person, through an electronic device, or on social media. Yes, Mr. Smith?
But we do have a kid. We do have a.
Well, that's my
Mr.
next.
Smith, hold on. Don't talk about anything about the case. The judge is telling you what the conditions are. You just say yes or no. Do you have any other questions?
Yes, he had a question about his child with Miss McGee.
What's your question, Mr. Smith?
All right, you may visit the child and have joint custody pursuant to any court order. So if you have a divorce decree or a legitimation order that gives you right to visit and have joint custody with the child in question, then that's permissible. Do you understand? All right. So do you have a divorce decree setting forth custody and visitation?
I don't know nothing about that. I thought since she has my last name, I have to. Right?
Are you married to Miss McGee?
No.
Okay. Were you ever married to Miss McGee?
No.
All right. So the child was born out of wedlock. Have you filed a legitimation action?
I've been trying.
Okay. Once you're released and once you're on probation, you can file a legitimation action. And through that legitimation action, they will give you a court order on when and where you can visit the child. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right. You will be on active probation for the rest of this sentence. Your all probation fees are waived. Understood?
Yes.
So there is no excuse to keep your probation appointments and to comply with all the conditions of your sentence. Do you have any questions? That concludes this case. Thank you.
Position 14, Miss Ebony Davis.
Ms. Ebony Haynes Davis is accused of forgery in the 4th degree from May 26, 2019, case number 19 CR 0095557F. Ms. Davis, you have been advised of your right to remain silent. Anything you say during the course of this proceeding Your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. His name is Mr. Zach Findling. Mr. Findling, what's the announcement for this case?
Yes, Judge. It's going to be a non-negotiated plea with jail time at issue.
All right. So Ms. Davis, I'm going to first hear from the prosecutor, then I'm going to hear from your attorney as to what the recommendation is if you decide to plead guilty or no contest. I will let you know which recommendation I'm accepting before we proceed with your case. Ms. Sari, what's the recommendation for Ms. Davis?
Yes, Your Honor, the recommendation is 12 months to serve 60 days, credit for time served 8 days, and the balance probated in anti-theft course, and stay away from the incident location, and I'll grab that in one bit. Sorry, Your Honor. I will have to look that up. We didn't know the announcement for today, so
Okay, just tell, I'll hold on that.
okay.
What is the reason for your particular sentence? Ms. Sari, what is the factual basis?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm sorry, one moment. So essentially, Your Honor, the defendant is accused of writing a check for an amount less than $1,500.
Okay, someone's audio is on. They need to be on mute.
There's someone talking in the background at the jail, Judge. South End.
South Annex, is there someone talking in the background? Okay, Ms. Sari, please continue. Do you have your factual basis or shall I move on to Mr. Findlay?
All we have right now is the accusation. We're still investigating. But it's essentially she wrote a
I'm sorry to
check.
interrupt. If I could cut in. I actually have the police report. It's been uploaded to Odyssey. Essentially, the defendant wrote a bad check in the amount of $706.23. The stay away condition I think was asked about earlier is 3887 Washington Road, located in East Point, Georgia, Fulton County.
All right, thank you, Mr. Walker.
You're welcome.
All right, Mr. Findling, what's your recommendation?
Yes, Judge. As previously stated, the state is asking for 60 days, which after the 2-for-1 would be 22 additional days. I am asking for 30 days, which after the 2-for-1 would mean Ms. Davis would only need to serve 7 additional days. Judge, this is a nonviolent offense. She does have 2 children who she's eager to get out and see and get back on her feet. So that is why, Judge, once again, nonviolent offense. And additionally, Judge, asking that once she does complete that anti-theft course, that she could be on non-reporting, and also that the probation fees could be waived, Judge, as finances are a big issue in Ms. Davis's life.
All right. I will accept the defense's recommendation of 12 months to serve 60 days.
And Your Honor, I'm
sorry, was it 30 days?
30 days, yes, or just be 7 additional after 2.
Yes, Ms. Sari, what were you saying?
Yes, the additional time was given based on her history. She has been arrested for theft or fraudulent charges before. So I did want to put that history on the record.
Okay. When was her last conviction for theft?
I have a 2019 fake charge for transfer. That was back in April of 2019.
Mm-hmm. And was that in Fulton County? Because I've got only criminal trespass charges in Fulton County.
It was in Fulton, yes, Your Honor.
Was it ever accused or was she ever arrested for that? Because she's got only 2 prior arrests, and she was booked in on April 11, 2019 for criminal trespass. and March 13, 2019 for criminal trespass.
I have the fake charge for April of 2019. It was a magistrate case, so that very well could have been amended. So that was the basis of her the additional jail time.
All right. I'm still going to accept the defense's recommendation of 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 8 days. She will be on probation. I will waive her probation fees for the first 5 months up to and including October of 20. Actually, I'm going to waive all her probation fees. She will report to probation every month, and but she will need to complete the anti-theft class and stay away from 3887 Washington Road in East Point, Georgia. Is that something your client will accept, Mr. Finley?
Yes, I believe so. Does that sound good, Ms. Davis?
It does sound good.
Okay, all probation fees waived, but you must report to probation for the rest of the 11 and a half months.
Okay.
And you need to retain a job in order to complete the anti-theft class and get housing. Do we have contact information for Ms. Davis? Because I see that she's residentially challenged.
Yes, Judge. So I don't have a home address for her. She did give me a good phone number. So I do have a good phone number, and I'm going to try to get a social worker to get her some housing information.
All right. Could you put the phone number in the chat to
Yes.
JCS Miss Demby, our probation office?
Yes, I'm going to send that right now.
Okay. All right, Ms. Davis, if you're going to proceed with this particular plea, Mr. Finling, do you at least stipulate the venue and ID?
I do.
All right. And Ms. Davis, please raise your right hand for the plea. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yeah.
All right. So, Ms. Davis, have you consumed any medication or alcoholic beverages recently?
Yes. Some vodka. I find the vodka.
Okay. You don't have to tell me the medication, but even after consuming it, have you understood what's been going on so far?
Yes.
All right. And have you understood your attorney, Mr. Finley?
Sort of, kind of, a little bit.
Okay, that's an honest response. Okay, and Miss Davis, are you satisfied with the representation you've received?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so today we are handling a plea hearing in which you have to make a decision as to whether you want to plead guilty to forgery in the 4th degree, and your sentence would be placing you. Your sentence would be that you would have 7 more days to serve at the jail. After you're done with the 7 days, you will have to report to probation at 132 Mitchell Street. And we only have a phone number for you. Do you have an address where you can report to where probation can contact you?
Well, my sister's, my sister's a house, but I don't know her address, something like Carey Street or something.
Okay.
But I'll have.
Well, we have a phone number on you, so please make sure that you get a call from probation. You need to respond. Okay.
Okay.
And also, you need to report to probation within 48 hours after being released.
Okay.
All right, and that would be to 132 Mitchell Street.
Okay.
You will report to probation every month. Your probation fees are waived. And while you're on probation, you need to get a job so you can complete this anti-theft class.
Okay.
You also need to stay away from 3887 Washington Road in East Point, Georgia.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a bank or someone's house, but you need to stay away from that location.
Okay.
And if you get arrested again, you could lose this free time while you're on probation. Probation will be revoked and you'll be back in jail.
Okay.
All right. If you decide to take this plea, you would have to waive your rights to go back to court, to have a trial before a judge or a jury. You have to waive your rights to have a counsel so that you could challenge the state's case. confront your accuser, present your defenses, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, I'm ready.
How do you plead to one count of forgery in the fourth degree?
I guilty.
Right, your sentence is 12 months to serve 30 days. You have credit for 8 days, so you have 7 more days to serve at the jail. You'll report to probation within 48 hours of being released. Your probation fees are waived, and you will need to complete an anti-theft course while you're on probation. Stay away from the Washington Road location.
Okay.
Thank you. That concludes this case.
Okay.
Yes, we have number 11, Mr. Coleman.
Courtroom 2, I'm sorry, repeat, Deputy?
On 4 South, got number 11, Mr. Coleman.
Okay, thank you. This is Edwin Coleman, represented by Mr. Clarence Johnson Jr. Mr. Johnson, have you had an opportunity to speak to your client?
I have not had an opportunity to speak with him, Judge.
Okay, I'm going to put you and Mr. and 4 South into a breakout room. Do you have the offer that's been made by the state with regards to this case?
I do, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Jordan, if we could place Clarence Johnson Jr. and 4 South in a breakout room, please. Thank you. Courtroom 2.
Got position 22.
Thank you.
That's a negotiated plea, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. We can get to the page. There we go. We have Nicholas Jamal Johnson, case number 22 CR 002952F, in which he's been accused of theft by deception from a June 12, 2021 incident. With regards to this particular case, Mr. Johnson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and you are represented by Ms. Helen. May I place you under oath for this plea? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Segura, what's the recommendation for Mr. Johnson?
The state's offer is 12 months to serve 34 days, credit for time served 17 days, balance probated, a $1,000 restitution, and no further contact with Christine Wiley. Kristen spelled Kristen, Wiley, common spelling. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. That is our understanding of the plea. We do accept that plea. We do stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID. And it is a probated sentence. We are asking for those probation fees to be waived, Your Honor.
Right. I will waive it for the first 6 months up to and including November of 2022. If he has paid off his restitution, then we will put it on a non-reporting basis. Is that acceptable?
Understood, Judge.
All right. However, if he hasn't paid off the restitution, he will continue to report to probation and start paying probation fees from December 1st, 2022. Mr. Johnson, do you understand the probation fee structure?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Mr. Johnson, you've been sworn in. Have you consumed any medication or alcoholic beverages recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And is anyone forcing you or inducing you to take a plea today?
No, ma'am.
If you decide to take this plea offer and plead guilty to theft by deception, you would have to give up your constitutional rights to have a trial before a judge or jury, to have the assistance of counsel to confront your accuser, present your defenses, challenge the state's evidence, examine witnesses, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to waive these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to one count of theft by deception?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 34 days, credit for time served 17 days. If you have no other holds, you'll be released and you'll have to report to probation by June 13, that's 1/3/2022 at 132 Mitchell Street in Atlanta, Georgia. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Your probation fees will be waived from up to now until the end of November 2022. during which time you have to pay the $1,000 restitution. Payments will be made directly to your probation officer and then delivered to Chris, who will deliver it to Kristen Riley. At all times, while you're on active or non-reporting probation, you will have no contact with Kristen Riley. You have to stay 200 yards away from her and do not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner, nor discuss her on any social media platform. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
If you have not paid off your restitution by the end of November of this year, you will continue to report to probation and pay probation fees beginning December 1st, 2022.
Yes,
Any
ma'am.
questions? Any questions? Mr. Johnson? I don't think they're frozen, so.
He might be frozen. Yeah. they
Mr.
were
Johnson, did you have any questions about your sentence?
Hey, you Judge, the last statement you made.
All right. Did you hear about your probation?
After you said I had to start paying December of 2022, I had nothing after that.
If you pay off your $1,000 restitution payments directly to your probation officer by the end of November 2022, your probation will be non-reporting. But if your payments are not complete, then you will continue to be on probation, start paying probation fees from December 1st, 2022. Are they frozen again? I don't know. My goodness. Did you hear that, Mr. Johnson?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Do you have any questions about your sentence? All right.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Courtroom 2, if you can hear me, you may have to reboot your Courtroom 2. You may have to exit the Zoom and then re-enter. Your screen keeps freezing up. Okay. 4 South with Mr. Johnson. It's position 11. And Clarence Johnson. All right. Mr. Johnson, what is your announcement for Edwin Coleman?
Yes, Judge. We're not going to accept the offer. It's drastically different, he says, than the initial offer, which he would have been inclined to take. But this present offer, we're not going to accept.
Would you consider a non-negotiated plea?
Well, does, did I disappear? Can you see me? Will we be able to reject it if we don't like the non-negotiated plea? Or will we be stuck with? I know
the non-negotiated plea is where the prosecution will state their offer and the factual basis for their offer, and you will have the opportunity to present an alternative recommendation. Then I will let you know which recommendation I'm going to accept, at which point then if your client is still not willing to take the plea, then we will simply arraign the case.
That's fine, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Edwin Coleman, you have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Clarence Johnson, Jr. We are addressing a non-negotiated plea for case number 22 CR 000-363H, in which Mr. Coleman has been accused of battery, domestic violence from an incident date of December 23rd, 2021, allegedly in Fulton County, Georgia. This is going to be a non-negotiated plea hearing, which means, Mr. Coleman, the prosecutor is going to present a recommended sentence if you decide to plead guilty, and your attorney is going to argue for an alternative recommendation. I will consider both recommendations and let you know which recommendation I will accept. You will then have the right to proceed with the plea or to simply plead not guilty. Do you understand? Mr. Coleman, do you understand? Is 4 South freezing up as well? Mr. Coleman, did you hear me?
No, I did not.
All right, Mr. Coleman, did you hear me at any part of what I was saying?
Yes, you, it kind of froze at the negotiated plea.
All right, this is a non-negotiated plea. So that means that the prosecutor is going to give one recommendation and then your attorney is going to give another recommendation. You still have a right to not take the plea if you're not happy with the decision I make, okay?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Sari, what is the recommendation from the state?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is 12 months to serve 120 days, credit for time served 7 days, the balance probated, in alcohol and drug evaluation, 12 weeks anger management and no contact with the victim, as well as a stay away. And Your Honor, this case arose from a dispute call by the victim, Monique Henson. She informed officers that the defendant punched her in the face while they were laying in bed together. She also had injuries to her face. Your Honor, the reason for the state's recommendation is that this defendant does have an open 2022 ag assault case against this very same victim. In our case, he was issued a no further violent contact, and then he picked up that ag assault charge. So that's one reason for the recommendation, as well as the 3 FTAs on this case, a DUI conviction, and another DUI arrest. Nothing further.
Has the victim been notified of this possible plea offer?
She is on, she should be on.
Is Monique Hickson on? Monique, was it Hinson or Hickson?
Hinson.
All right, Miss Monique Hinson, are you present? I do not see her on, all right?
I just called her and asked her to log in.
Mr. Johnson, did you say something?
Yes, I just called her and she said she was gonna log in.
Right, Mr. Jordan, do we have anyone in the waiting room?
No, Judge, we don't.
All right. All right, we'll proceed right now with your recommendation, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Judge. I had spoken with the victim and they've reconciled. And I think the initial offer was that he would take the class, get credit for time served, and have no violent contact with his wife. And that's what we'd like to go with.
And Your Honor, I would just like to state we did reach out to the victim. She informed our victim advocate that she and the defendant have been married for 8 years, and this incident was the first. However, there is a subsequent incident, so that should clear up why the previous offer is now not on the table. She stated she does not fear the defendant, but we are asking for a no further contact based on the Superior Court case that does issue a no contact order.
But as stated earlier, they've been married for 8 years, and so he would have nowhere else to go. So I think it should be no further violent contact. The second incident, I think, will be disposed of. It's not nearly as serious as this one, and may likely be dismissed once the facts are revealed to the court and to the prosecution.
And we would be okay with the no contact and the stay.
I'm sorry, you're saying no contact with Monique Hinson and stay away from the marital home. Is that correct, Ms. Sari?
Correct.
All right. So this incident occurred on this case, the battery domestic violence, occurred on December 23rd, 2021, involving Ms. Monique Hinson. I'm reading the pleadings and the warrant from the aggravated assault case, and that incident occurred just a few months later, involving a higher level of alleged violence. And unfortunately, 8 years of marriage does not place Mr. Coleman in a different position from an unmarried man. Given the nature of the circumstances, given the fact that he has an open pending felony case against him, I am agreeing with the state that 120 days is a reasonable sentence in terms of the circumstances of both these cases. So, Mr. Johnson, I'm going to accept the state's recommendation, which your client has already turned down. So we will simply then arraign the case. So I understand Mr. Coleman is entering a not guilty plea at the present time.
That's correct.
All right. Do you waive a reading of the accusation, Mr. Johnson?
I do.
4 South, could we please unmute? All right. Mr. Coleman, I understand I'm going to arraign your case, which means that you will enter a plea of not guilty and the case will be scheduled for trial. In case number 22 CR 0000363H, you've already been advised of your right to remain silent and your right to counsel, who is Clarence Johnson Jr. With regards to this particular case, you are accused of battery domestic violence allegedly occurring on December 23rd, 2021, involving victim Monique Hinson, your spouse. And with regards to this case, upon your entry of a not guilty plea, the case will be scheduled for trial. At the time of the trial, the state would have the complete burden to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. If the state succeeds, you would be found guilty and your presumption of innocence would be removed. You will be convicted and face a penalty of up to a year in prison and or up to $1,000 fine with regards to this case. Given this information, how do you plead?
Not guilty.
All right. I will accept your plea of not guilty and the case is arraigned. It is assigned to Judge Wesley Taylor, and who will schedule the case for a hearing, for a trial, and so forth. Mr. Johnson, do you have any questions?
I do not, Judge.
All right, that concludes this case. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Judge, can I address the court
Monique
momentarily?
Hinson has finally entered the Zoom. Miss Monique, if you can unmute, please.
Yes.
Miss Monique, is your name Monique Hinson?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Coleman has entered a plea of not guilty. So the case will be scheduled for trial. I assume that is what's going on in his felony case as well.
Yes.
All right. So please reach out to the Victim Advocate's Office at the Fulton Solicitor General's office to get an update on this case.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Your Honor, briefly, Ms. Sari has a conflict. Is there any way that position 18 or 20 might be available?
Let's see. I'm in courtroom 2 right now. 18 and
Or 20.
All right, let's see. Is Lamonte Evans available in courtroom 2?
Yes, Judge, I got both of them, but are we done with position 22?
Position 22.
I believe.
Nicholas Johnson.
I believe we wrapped that up. Did we not in a negotiated plea, Your
Yes,
Honor?
that was completed. He was put on probation to pay the $1,000 restitution and so forth. Did he have a question?
Yeah, if I'm not released by June 13th, they won't wish or want my arrest with it.
Wait, hold on. She was talking about whether or not you had holds that you could then report to probation on the 13th. If you have a hold, you will be held there until that hold is addressed, correct? And then once you're released, you will then report to probation.
I just wanted to make sure they won't.
Got you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
All right, next case, position 18.
Thank you. This is Miss Helen's, Miss Sari's case, excuse me. Okay, so we have simple Mr. Lamonte Kimon Bernaris Evans. Are you Mr. Evans?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Your case is 22 CR 003-037J, in which you've been accused of simple battery domestic violence on May 17, 2022. Mr. Evans, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Zach Finley. Is this still a non-negotiated plea?
That's correct, Judge.
All right. So, Mr. Evans, we will first hear from the prosecutor as to what her recommended sentence is, and then I'll hear from your attorney. I will let you know which recommendation I'll accept before we proceed with your case. Ms. Sari?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is 12 months to serve 120 days, credit for time served 14 days, the balance probated, an FFIB, no contact with the victim, and a stay away from 140 Pine Street Northeast in Atlanta. Briefly, Your Honor, officers responded to the Budget Hotel regarding a dispute. The victim in this case, her name is Leandria Christian, and Leandria is Leandrea. She stated that she arrived to the incident location to retrieve her items that were in the room that she and the defendant had been staying in, and a verbal altercation ensued. And then the defendant struck her multiple times, which caused injuries. Your Honor, this defendant does have a 2022 criminal trespass guilty conviction, 2021 simple battery family violence guilty conviction, 2019 battery family violence and cruelty in the third guilty conviction, as well as multiple probation violations. So that's the basis for the state's recommendation. And the victim is on the call as well, Your Honor.
All right. Miss Leandria, well, let me hear what Mr. Finling has to say, then I'll hear from Miss Christian. Miss Christian? All right, Miss Christian, please hold, and I will, if you want to add anything to the proceedings, I will let you testify in a few moments. Mr. Finling, what's your recommendation?
Yes, Judge. As previously stated, the state is asking for 120 days, which after the 2-for-1 would be 46 additional days. I'm asking for him to 90 days, which after the 2-for-1 would be 31 days. Mr. Evans is really working to get his life back on track. He does have 5 children. He recently lost his home, and he's looking forward to getting back to work so he can kind of regain his house and kind of get his life back on track. He was previously working in construction, and he aims to pursue a similar job in construction once again, Judge. So once again, asking for that 90 days as opposed to the 120. And additionally, asking that once he completes the family violence class, if he could be on a non-reporting. And then just one last thing, Judge, I did speak with the alleged victim, and she did say that she does want contact with him.
All right. All right, Miss Christian Drea. Miss Christian, I think it's Leandra Christian. All right. Miss Christian, I lost you. Okay, there we go. Could you raise your right hand, please? Other hand, right, the right hand.
I can't really hear.
Could you raise your right hand, please?
Yes, ma'am.
The other right hand.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Do you solemnly swear and affirm that the testimony you provide will be the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
So you have heard Mr. Evans's criminal history record?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. He's got quite a few misdemeanor violent convictions on his record.
I mean, yes, I'm aware of all of that. Yes, I am.
And you are a victim of the altercation that occurred at January 7th at the Budget Motel, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. What would you like to tell me about the recommended sentence by the state? They're asking that he served 46 more days before he can be released.
Yes, ma'am. The only thing I really was concerned about is just really he need anger management classes, like, because his temper just get 0 to 100 real fast.
All right. And what about contact with you?
I'm fine with it with contact. I'm fine with all of that.
But if his anger
Okay
goes
with
to
me.
0 to 100 real fast, why would you, not why, but are you still comfortable with having contact with a man whose anger goes from 0 to 100 real fast?
Yes, I don't have no problems as long as it's just like me. I don't want no drama. I don't want no drama or no problem with me. So everything good with me.
All right, understood. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Christian. Do you have anything else to add?
No, ma'am.
Okay, we can mute Ms. Christian, please. Thank you. Anything else to add, Mr. Finley?
Nothing further, Judge.
Ms. Sari, anything else to add?
We just asked the court to consider the victim's statements today. She is reinstating that the defendant does have a history of violence and also his anger. So we are asking for that FFIB to be imposed, but nothing further.
All right. I will accept the defense's recommendation of 12 months to serve 90 days. Credit for time served 14 days, which means he has 31 more days to serve at the Fulton County Jail if he decides to plead guilty. In addition to that, once he's completed 31 days, if he has no other holds, he will be placed on probation, active probation for the entire remainder of the sentence, which will be 11 months. While he's on probation, he will complete the 6-month domestic violence intervention program, which he must enroll within 30 days of being released. He is to have no contact whatsoever with Leandra Christian. He's to stay 200 yards away from her and not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner, and to stay away from 140 Pine Street in Northeast Atlanta. That's the recommendation that I will accept. Mr. Finling, does your client want to proceed?
I believe so. Does that sound good, Mr. Evans?
Oh, yes, sir.
All right, you do understand that you have to stay away from Ms. Christian and not return to the property wherever she lives.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Mr. Finling, do you stipulate to venue and ID?
I do, Judge.
All right. Mr. Evans, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Evans, have you taken any medication? You can put your hand down. Have you taken any medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with the representation you've received?
Yes, ma'am.
And is anyone forcing you to take a plea today?
No, ma'am.
If you decide to enter a plea of guilty, you would have to give up your constitutional rights to go back to court, to have a trial before a judge or a jury, to have the assistance of counsel so that you could confront your accuser, examine witnesses, present your defenses, challenge the state's evidence, and have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to one count of simple battery domestic violence?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 90 days, credit for time served 14 days. You have 31 more days to serve at the Fulton County Jail. Once you've completed the time, you will be released and report to probation within 48 hours of your release at the next business day, and that report will be to 132 Mitchell Street in Atlanta, Georgia. You report to probation every month. You will enroll in a domestic violence intervention program within 30 days of being released. You must enroll within 30 days, otherwise that will be considered a probation violation. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Your probation fees will be waived up to and including through November of 2022. After you've completed your domestic violence intervention program, you will continue to report to probation every month. You will start paying probation fees from December 1st, 2022. At all times while you're on probation, you are to stay away from 140 Pine Street in Northeast Atlanta, and you are to have no contact with the Leandra Christian, which means staying 200 yards away from her. Do not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner, including phone, electronic devices, or discussing on social media or through a third party. Do you have any children with Miss Christian?
Yes, ma'am, but it had passed.
How many children do you have with Miss Christian?
One.
All right. If you plan to see the child, have visitation or any kind of joint custody, you will file a legitimation action with the Superior Court and get a court order to set forth your visitation and your custody matters. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Otherwise, there is no third party transfer with the child. You must go through Superior Court and get a legitimation court order.
All right.
Thank you.
Next is position 20.
Yeah. Just 1 minute, please. All right. Moving on to courtroom 2, we have position 20. I apologize. I'm sorry, Mr. Findling, with regards to Mr. Evans, did he say the child passed away?
If he said that, Judge, I did not. I'm not sure. He did not tell me that.
Okay, I do.
I'm sorry. It also states that in the police report that the child had passed.
Okay, so I do apologize about the legitimation. I didn't hear that part. Okay, so we can dispense with that part in the sentence. Mr. Evans, I do apologize about the child, your passing away. I didn't hear that part, so I do apologize. The legitimation issue is absolutely not relevant.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Aaron Lee Hills. All right. Mr. Hills, your case number is 22 CR 002946C. Mr. Hills has been charged and accused of 2 counts of simple battery, domestic violence, allegedly from May 14th, 2022. This is going to be a non-negotiated plea. So Mr. Hills, you have a right to remain silent. As you've been so advised, your attorney is going to be Mr. Zach Findling. Also, this is going to be a non-negotiated plea. So we're going to let Ms. Sowry, the prosecutor, tell me the recommendation, and then your attorney, Mr. Findling, will also let me know the recommendation. Just to clarify, Mr. Findling, your screen has gone dark. Are you there? Okay, no problem. All right. Ms. Sowry, what's the recommendation for Mr. Hills?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is 12 months to serve 70 days, credit for time served 17 days, the balance probated, no contact with victims Michael Terrence Jackson and Michael White, 12-week anger management, and stay away from 2942 Delmar Lane in Atlanta. Briefly, Your Honor, officers responded to this incident location and were informed by the victim that he had been hit by the defendant. The defendant became irate. He came home, he became irate and started to scream. So I'm sorry, this is at the incident location that the defendant was irate and he started to scream. So the officers took one of the victims aside to understand what happened. So once aside, the victim explained that the defendant came home around 9:30 p.m. that night. He was drunk and irate, and both victims were sitting out on the front porch. When the defendant arrived, he called them vulgar names. He got into one of the victim's face and pushed and slapped him several times, and then he threw water on the other victim. The defendant does have an open ag assault from 2021. He also had an ag assault in 2004 that was amended to simple assault. That was a guilty conviction. He has a battery from 2012 that resulted in a guilty conviction, as well as multiple probation violations. So that is the basis for the state's recommendation.
All right, thank you. Mr. Findlay?
Yes, Judge. I am asking, or the state is asking for 70 days, which after the 2-for-1 would mean Mr. Hills would serve 18 additional days. I'm asking for 50 days, which would mean he would serve 8 additional days in jail, Judge. And I do recognize Mr. Hill's arrest history. He is really working hard to get his life back on track. When this happened, he's been in the application process to some different hotels. He works as a cleaner or housekeeper. That's how he supports himself and his grandchildren. So he is eager to get his life back on track and get that going as soon as possible. So I am once again asking for that 50 days, Judge. And additionally, the probation fees to be waived.
All right, does he have a hold for the felony matter?
So I do see that it's open. I do not. I'm looking under jailings on Odyssey. I don't see where.
I
believe it
don't
usually
see a
says-
hold.
Yeah, I don't believe there's a hold. I didn't see one when I looked yesterday, and I don't see one when I'm looking right now. Because I believe it usually explicitly says.
And I don't see one either. I just see he's out on bond. Our case is subsequent to the felony case.
Okay. Under the circumstances of this case, and if he has no other holds at the Superior Court, I will accept the defense's recommendation in terms of 12 months to serve 50 days, credit for time served 17 days, which means he serves 8 more days at the Fulton County Jail. He will be on active probation for the remainder of the time once he's released. He will report to probation every month. While he's on probation, he will complete the 12-week anger management and all times stay away from 2942 Delmar Lane and have no contact with Michael, middle initial T Jackson, and Michael White. All right, and he will be on active probation. So I'll waive his probation fees for the first 5 months up to and including October of 2022. And after that, he will continue to report to probation from November onwards and pay probation fees from November 1st, 2022. Is that something that he'd like to consider or plead not guilty?
I believe so, Judge Law. Does that sound good, Mr. Hills?
Courtroom 2, if we can unmute Courtroom 2, please. Mr. Hills, I'm accepting your attorney's recommendation that you have 8 more days at the jail, but then you'll be placed on active probation for the rest of the 11 and a half months.
Does that sound good, Mr. Hills?
I didn't hear what could you repeat that, please?
I'm accepting your attorney's recommendation that if you plead guilty to the 2 counts of simple battery domestic violence, you will serve 50 days and be given credit for 17 days, which means that you have 8 more days to serve at the jail. After that, you'll be placed on active probation. Is this something that you'd like to accept?
Yes.
All right. Do you stipulate to the venue and ID, Mr. Finley?
I do, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Hills, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
You've been charged with 2 counts of simple battery domestic violence involving one Michael Jackson and one Michael White. Is that your understanding of the case?
Can I say something on?
If you make any comments about the facts of the case, all your statements can and will be used against you, including my rejection of this plea offer and scheduling your case for trial.
Yeah, Mr. Hills, if it's regarding the facts surrounding your case, I'd strongly advise you to not say anything, sir.
All right. Again, I'll ask you, is it your understanding that this is a case involving simple battery domestic violence involving one Michael Jackson and one Michael White?
Yes.
Is that your understanding, Mr. Hills?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Hills, you need to say yes or no, okay, to my questions.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Hills, have you consumed any medication or any kind of alcohol recently?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
And has your attorney explained to you what a plea hearing is about and that you'll be pleading guilty to these counts, to these offenses in exchange for a recommended sentence?
Yes.
And is anyone forcing you to take a plea today?
No, ma'am.
If you decide to plead guilty to the 2 counts of simple battery domestic violence, you would have to give up your constitutional rights. These rights include a trial before a judge or a jury, having the assistance of counsel during the trial to confront your accuser, examine witnesses, present your own evidence of defenses, challenge the state's case, and have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. There will be no trial. This case will be closed if you decide to take a plea. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
And do you voluntarily waive these rights?
Yes.
How do you plead to 2 counts of simple battery domestic violence against Michael Jackson and Michael White?
Yes.
Repeat.
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 50 days. Credit for time served 17 days. Once you've completed the additional 8 days, you will be placed on probation. You have to report to probation within 48 hours of, all right, you have to report to probation within 48 hours of being released. While on probation, you will complete a 12-week anger management program, and this may be completed, at least this must be completed by the end of November 2021. If you have not completed it, then you will, well, those are the months where you don't have to pay probation fees. So that will be the best time to complete your anger management. Beginning December 1st, 2021, you will start paying probation fees and you will report to probation for the next 11.5 months. Do you understand?
Repeat that again, ma'am.
Repeat your question.
I said, repeat that what you just said, ma'am. I ain't quite understand what you're saying.
You'll be on probation for all of 11.5 months. Your probation fees are waived up to and including November 2022. Do you understand?
I said yes.
Okay. You will complete a 12-week anger management program while you're on probation. I recommend that you complete it before the end of November 2022. Understood?
Do I have to go every week?
Repeat the question.
I have to go every week. Like, I'm trying to get a job.
It's a 12-week anger management, so you'll be going for 12 weeks.
Okay.
Beginning December 1st, 2022, you will pay, you'll report to probation and start paying probation fees. Understood?
I thought they would be waived. I don't have to pay probation fee.
It's only waived up to the end of November. Understood?
Yes.
All right. At all times while you're on probation, you are to stay away from 2942 Delmar Lane in Atlanta, Georgia. Do you have any property at that location?
I do, ma'am.
You can return one time only with a police officer to retrieve your belongings.
Okay, well, y'all, when I do get out, can I get a piece of paper with the judge signature on it? So if I do go there with the officer, so they won't try to have me
You
arrested.
can return, right. You can return one time only, but you must have a,
I need proof to let them know that I'm coming to get my stuff with a judge signature on it, so they might
as
want.
long as the police officer is with you and you have your sentence sheet, you can go there one time only. And you can go there to retrieve your belongings, but there cannot be any breach of peace. Understood?
Okay.
At all times, you have to have no contact with Michael Jackson and Michael White. You're not to speak to them. You're not to address them. You're not to be within 200 yards of them. You're not to communicate with them through a phone or a computer and not on social media. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. That concludes your sentence. Do you have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Next on 4 North, we have 32 and 33, Mr. Strickland.
We have 4 North. We have Mr. Daley, Aaron Strickland, accused of transmitting a false report, case number 22 CR 001241B. And this is from a March 6, 2022 incident. Mr. Strickland, you have a right to, can you hear me, Mr. Strickland?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a right to remain silent about the facts of the case. Any statements you make, your comments can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you presently is Ms. Catrice Helen. This is going to be a
negotiated plea, Your Honor, and not to interrupt you, but he's
no, but she had the second case.
Yeah, yes.
Sorry, I forgot about that. Okay. Yeah, and Mr. Strickland has a second case. Simple assault and criminal trespass under case number 22 CR 001103B from a February 25th, 2022 incident. Okay. With regards to both cases, we're going to have a negotiated plea hearing, which means that Mr. Strickland's apparently going to plead guilty to the charges in exchange for a recommended sentence. Mr. Strickland, for purposes of the plea hearing in both cases, may I place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Segura, for position 32 and 33, is this going to be a concurrent sentence?
It will be. Yes.
All right. For position 33, I understand the state is giving him a time served, balance suspended. Is that correct?
Yes, but has a stay away. That's the second occasion on the disposition for 32, the Solace Apartments.
So he has to stay away from Solace Apartments at 710 Peachtree Street. Is that correct?
Indeed.
Okay. So what is the recommended sentence for position 32?
The state's offer is 12 months to serve 44 days, credit for time served 22 days, balance probated, 6-week annual management, the stairway from 725 Ponce de Leon Avenue, Northeast Atlanta, and a stairway from Solace Apartments located at 710 Peachtree Street, Northeast Atlanta, and no further contact with title holding. Thank you.
Ms. Helen?
Yes, Your Honor, that is our understanding of the plea. We do stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID. This is a probated sentence, Judge, so we are asking for those probation fees to be waived. And if the state is amenable, once he completes the conditions, if it can be non-reporting.
I'm going to have him reporting every month. Does he still want to proceed?
Mr. Strickland, do you understand it's not going to go okay. Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And he has to complete a 6-week anger management. So I will, that will be about a month and a half. So I'll waive probation fees for June, July, and August. And on September 1st, 2022, he will continue reporting and pay probation fees.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Strickland, are you willing to accept the plea under these circumstances?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And are you employed or?
I'm gonna have to find a job.
That's right. Thank you. All right. So Ms. Helen, we're going to stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID for both cases, correct?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Okay. All right. Mr. Strickland, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you understood your attorney, and are you satisfied with the representation?
Very satisfied.
Has anyone forced you or given you any inducement to take a plea today?
No, ma'am.
If you decide to take this plea, you would have to waive your constitutional rights to go back to court, to have a trial before a judge or a jury, to have the assistance of counsel so that you can challenge the state's evidence, present your own defenses, examine witnesses, confront the accuser, argue your case before a judge or a jury, and have the state try to prove the charges against you in both cases and prove those charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to waive these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you entering a plea willingly, knowingly, and voluntarily?
Yes, ma'am.
With regards to position 32, in which you are charged with simple assault and criminal trespass, how do you plead?
Guilty.
With regards to position 33, in which you are charged with transmitting a false report of a fire, how do you plead?
Guilty.
Your sentence for position 33, transmitting false report of a crime of a fire, is time served with a balance suspended, and you have to stay away from the Solace Apartments at 710 Peachtree Street in Northeast Atlanta. If you return to that location or seen anywhere on its parking lot, its sidewalk, curb, or in the building, you will be arrested again with trespass. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
With regards to position 32 regarding the simple assault and criminal trespass, your sentence will be concurrent, and the sentence is 12 months to serve 44 days, credit for time served 22 days. If you have no other holds, you'll be released and placed on probation. You must report to probation at 132 Mitchell Street no later than June 13, 2022. While you're on probation, your probation fees will be waived up to and including August of 2022. And then you will start paying probation fees from September 1st, 2022 onwards for the remainder of your sentence. While on probation, you will complete a 6-week anger management program at your expense, and you have to stay away from 725 Ponce de Leon Avenue in Northeast Atlanta, and have no further contact with Taylor Boulding. If you violate any of the conditions of your probation, you risk your probation being revoked and spending the rest of the 12 months, remainder of the 12-month sentence in prison. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Do you have any questions about your sentences?
No, ma'am.
That concludes these cases. Thank you.
And next we got 1 and 2, Mr. Avery. Avery.
Mr. Finling, do you waive a reading of the accusations in both these cases?
I do.
And we are only taking arraignment, correct?
That's correct, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Jamario Dewan Avery has 2 cases before us today, 22 CR 000687D, in which he's accused of theft by taking, a misdemeanor, from January 4th, 2021. The second case is 22 CR 002565D, in which he is, has it been amended to battery, Mr. Walker?
1 second, Your Honor. I'm sorry, I had just clicked off the calendar.
Position number 2.
On the calendar is reflecting simple battery, but let me check on Odyssey to see if there was a subsequent accusation filed.
I just have a note on the disposition that it was amended to battery, but if you're still accusing him of battery.
It's been amended to battery. I just reviewed Odyssey. It's been amended. That's correct.
All right. On position number 2, the charge is now been amended and accused with 1 misdemeanor offense of battery from May 17th, 2020. With respect to both these cases, Mr. Avery, you have a right to remain silent about the facts of the case. Any statements you make can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Mr. Zach Finling. You are legally presumed innocent of the charges brought against you per the accusation, and upon your entry of a not guilty plea, the case will be scheduled for trial. At the time of the trial, the prosecutor has the complete burden to prove the charges against you in both cases, and the proof must be beyond a reasonable doubt in order to secure a conviction and overcome your legal presumption of innocence. If they carry their burden of proof, you could be convicted of 1 or more of these offenses and face a penalty of up to a year in prison and or up to $1,000 fine for each convicted offense. Given this information, how do you plead? Mr. Avery, given this information, how do you plead in both these cases?
Not guilty.
All right, your cases have been arraigned and they will be scheduled for trial. Thank you. That concludes position 1 and 2. We're moving on to courtroom 2. Who do we have, please?
35.
35, okay.
And Your Honor, that's a negotiated plea.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ramon Townsend, middle initial D, has been accused of misdemeanor obstruction of law enforcement officers and theft by shoplifting in case 19 CR 005003G. Mr. Townsend, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Catrice Helen. This is going to be a negotiated plea hearing, so may I place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Mr. Segura, what's the recommended sentence for Mr. Townsend?
The state's recommendation is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days, balance probated, and anti-theft course, and a stay away from Wayfield Foods located at 3050 Martin Luther King Drive, Atlanta.
Thank you. Ms. Helen?
Yes, Your Honor, that is our understanding of the plea. We do stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID. This is a probated sentence. We are asking for those probation fees to be waived. And once he completes that course, if it could be non-reporting.
Right. It's an anti-theft class, so I can waive probation fees for June, July, August. And any objection to non-reporting, Mr. Segura?
No objections.
All right, then we will do non-reporting once he completes the anti-theft class. Okay.
Excuse
And
me,
I'm
ma'am.
sorry, you did enter the stipulations. Yes, Ms. Helen?
I did, Your Honor.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Townsend.
Yes, ma'am. I already been sentenced for that crime, ma'am. They gave me time served.
On which charge?
The accident at the Wayfield right there. They gave me time served. I did 3.5 weeks in Fulton County Jail. When I left the hospital, because I had the accident, the little incident between me and the police officer, they took me to Greater Hospital. I came here. They gave me a bond for $5,000. I couldn't make the bond, so I sat here for 3.5 weeks, and they gave me time served on that charge, ma'am.
Let me see. This is position 35. And if there's a plea, then of course you would be right, but I need to see whether there's a plea.
Yes, it was.
Well, it's just a question of pulling it up, no problem. This is State versus Ramon Townsend. And there was a plea hearing on August 30th, 2019. And the defendant failed to appear before Judge John Mather. An arrest warrant was issued on September 5th, 2019. That's what happened according to Judge Mather's entry in this case. You failed to appear.
I must have misunderstood them because I'm born there. I'm definitely one. Yeah, I must didn't understand what they were saying at the time. And I apologize. But I sent the plea though.
All right, so you do understand that the theft by shoplifting and the obstruction still open active charges against you. Is that correct?
I thought the case was dismissed because I thought the judge had gave me time credit for time served.
No, he issued an arrest warrant.
Oh, okay.
All right. So, Mr. Townsend, based on the information you've received so far and given your attorney's stipulation to the factual basis, venue, and ID of this case, the theft by shoplifting and the willful obstruction are still active charges against you unless you decide to enter a plea of guilty and accept the sentence that's been recommended today.
Okay, I'll do that now.
The sentence does require you to be on probation.
Yeah, no, okay.
And you need to complete an anti-theft class.
Okay.
And you cannot return to Wayfield Foods on Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. You cannot be within 200 yards of that location.
All right.
That is going to be your sentence today. Do you understand?
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So, Mr. Townsend, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And in your discussions with your attorney, are you satisfied with the representation?
Yes, ma'am.
If you decide to take this plea, Is anyone forcing you to take a plea today?
No,
And if you decide to take this plea, you would have to waive your rights to go back to court, to have a trial before a judge or a jury, to be able to have the assistance of counsel so that you could challenge the state's evidence, confront your accuser, examine witnesses, and have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to waive these rights?
yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to one count of obstruction of an officer and theft by shoplifting from a June 14, 2017 incident?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days. If you have no other cases holding you at the jail, you'll be released within 24 hours, and you must report to the probation office by 4 p.m. on June 13th, 2022. Do you understand?
Yes,
June 13th is when you report to probation. You will provide them with a valid address, phone number, and email where they can reach you. Do we have such information?
yes, you do.
Okay. While on probation, you will complete an anti-theft class, and you will stay away from Wayfield Foods at 3050 Martin Luther King Drive in Atlanta, Georgia.
All
You
right,
will be on probation. I will waive your probation fees from now until the end of August 2022. If you have completed the anti-theft class, your probation will be non-reporting. Understood?
understood.
Any questions about your sentence?
No,
Today is the day you were sentenced to these two charges. Do you understand?
yes, ma'am.
All right.
So if I'm still incarcerated by that time,
If you have any holes, then
No,
you,
I just
if
have
you
an
have no
old,
holes, then you should be released within 24 hours, and you must report to probation by June 13th. If you have any
Okay.
holes, then you will remain at the jail until the hold is lifted. Then, once you're released, you must report to probation within 48 hours.
okay,
Thank you.
well,
Next case, please.
21.
Did I hear 21?
Yes.
Okay. Is this Eric Weston Hughes Jr.?
Yes, Judge.
Case number 22 CR 003047C, accused of obtaining unlawful entry into a martyr property and criminal trespass from May 17, 2022. Mr. Hughes, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Zach Findling.
Oh, that's my.
No, sorry,
my case,
21 is Ms. Helen. Your attorney is Ms. Catrice Helen. This is going to be a negotiated plea. May I place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right, Mr. You can put your hand down. Thank you. Mr. Segura, what's the recommendation for Mr. Hughes?
The state's recommendation is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days, balance suspended, and a stay away from Malta located at 1255 West Peachtree Street, Northeast Atlanta, and to abide by any Malta suspensions.
Yes, Your Honor, that is our understanding of the plea. We do stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID, and this is a time served, balance suspended.
Does he have any active MARA suspensions?
Yes.
Not that I'm aware of, Your Honor, but
Mr. Segura, are you aware of any?
He does. He has two, but they're both in 2022. One of them activated in May, which ends at the end of June, and the next one is for the entirety of July.
I'm sorry, when in July?
July the 1st until the last day, July the 31st.
All right. So he has two active suspensions from MARTA, which means that he has to stay away from all MARTA property until the end of July 2022. Okay. All right. Mr. Hughes, have you consumed any kind of medication or alcohol recently?
No, Your Honor, I don't partake in alcohol.
Repeat, please.
That's a no, Your Honor.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Proceeding understood, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, you're mumbling, sir. So you need to sit up and speak clearly.
Sorry, I'm not one who have a COVID mask on, so Treasury Line.
I still can't understand you. Sit up and speak clearly, and that would help. You don't have to hunch over. All right. Again, have you understood the proceedings so far?
Proceedings understood, Your Honor.
Are you satisfied with the representation you've received from your attorney?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you decide to take this plea today, you would have to give up your constitutional rights to go back to court and have a trial before a judge or jury, to have the assistance of counsel so that you could confront your accuser, examine witnesses, challenge the state's evidence, present your own arguments to the trier of fact, as well as have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to waive these rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is anyone forcing you to take a plea today?
No, Your Honor.
Are you doing so freely, knowingly, and voluntarily?
Yes, Your Honor.
How do you plead to the unlawful entry and criminal trespass charge?
Plead guilty, Your Honor.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days. If you have no other holds, you should be released within 24 hours. The remainder of your 12-month sentence is suspended, but which means you will not be on probation, but you cannot return to any MARTA property until the end of July 2022. You can resume using MARTA services from August 1st, 2022, unless something else happens and you get another suspension.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Do you have any questions about your sentence?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
That concludes the case. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Next, we got number 26 on 6 North, Mr. Mender.
All right, Courtroom 2, I'll be with you shortly. I have 6 North, and could you repeat the position number again, please?
26.
26. Is
And
this?
that's Sorry, Your Honor.
No problem. Is this Tanquarius Trinad Mender?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Mender, your case number is 22 CR 003-214G, in which you've been accused of simple battery against an officer or corrections detention officer and obstruction of law enforcement from an August 14, 2020 incident. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and you'll be represented by Ms. Helen. This is going to be a negotiated plea, so may I place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Segura, what's the offer for Mr. Mender?
State's office, 12 months to serve, credit for time served, 678 days. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Helen, do we stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Thank you. Mr. Mender, have you consumed any kind of alcohol or medication recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with the representation you received from your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you understand that if you enter a plea of guilty to these charges, you give up your right to go back to court, to have a trial, to confront your accuser, examine witnesses, challenge the state's evidence, and have them prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt? Are you prepared to waive these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to the simple battery and the obstruction charge?
Yes.
Your sentence is time served. Thank you. That ends this case.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Courtroom 2, who do we have, please?
19.
And this will be a negotiated plea, Judge.
Charmaine Edward Hill is case number 22 CR 000958, in which Mr. Hill was accused of criminal trespass from January 7th, 2022. This is going to be a negotiated plea. Mr. Hill has been advised of his right to remain silent, and his counsel is Zach Finley. Mr. Hill, may I place you under oath to raise your right hand? Mr. Hill, I need to place you under oath. Please raise your right hand.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You may lower your hand. Mr. Mr. Walker, Mr. Segura.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, it's my case. The state's recommendation is going to be a time served offer of 11 days, balance suspended with a stay away at the incident location, 1695 Prior Road. I believe that's some sort of convenience store.
How many more days does he have left?
Oh, it's time served, so.
Oh, okay.
The time served, balance suspended, stay away at the incident location, which is
Okay.
1695 Prior Road.
Prior Road, okay. Mr. Finley, do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
I do, Judge.
All right. Mr. Hill, have you consumed any kind of medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood what's been going on so far?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you about to enter a plea willingly, knowingly, and voluntarily?
Okay.
All right, that's a good response. Has anyone forced you or induced you to take a plea?
Yes.
Who forced you?
Oh, no.
Okay. If you decide to take this plea, you will not be able to exercise your constitutional right to have a trial before a judge or a jury. You will
Okay.
also not have the right to go back to court, confront your accuser, have the assistance of counsel to challenge the state's evidence, argue your case to the trier of fact, examine witnesses, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes.
How do you plead to one count of criminal trespass?
Not yet. Yes.
How do you plead to one count of criminal trespass?
Yes.
Your sentence is time served. If you have no other holds at the Fulton County Jail, you should be released within 24 hours. Once released,
I plead not guilty. Oh, I plead guilty, yeah. Not guilty.
Mr. Hill,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hill, so when we spoke, the state is offering time served, so no more days in jail, and then no probation. And that's in exchange for a guilty plea. So
Yeah. I plead guilty.
are you sure?
Yes.
One more time.
Yes.
Your sentence is time served. You cannot return to 1695 Prior Road in Atlanta, Georgia. Do you understand?
All right. Yeah, I understand.
Thank you. That concludes this case. Oh, it wasn't a yo-yo. Okay. Courtroom 2.
25.
Thank you. We have Tommy Lee McIntosh. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Case number 22 CR 003131C, in which Mr. McIntosh has been accused of theft by shoplifting from April 2nd, 2020. Mr. McIntosh, you have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Catrice Helen. This is going to be a negotiated plea, so may I place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm that the information you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Segura, what is the offer for Mr. McIntosh?
The state's recommendation is 12 months to serve 158 days, credit for time served 79 days, balance probated, an anti-theft course, and a stay away from Exxon located at 400 Edgewood Avenue, Atlanta. Thank you.
Ms. Helen?
Yes, Your Honor, that is our understanding of the plea. We stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID. This is a probated sentence, so we are asking for those probation fees to be waived. And once the theft course is completed, can it go non-reporting?
Any objection to non-reporting, Mr. Segura?
No objection.
All right, I'll
Understood.
waive probation fees for 3 months, June, July, August. And if he completes the course, then he'll be non-reporting. If he hasn't completed the course, he will still report, and probation fees will be paid from September 1st, 2022. Mr. McIntosh, under these terms, would you still like to proceed?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
First of all, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
Have you understood what's been going on and the information presented so far?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you satisfied with your legal counsel?
Yes, ma'am.
Is anyone forcing you to take a plea today?
No, ma'am.
This is a theft by shoplifting charge. If convicted, this will go on your record. And if you have 3 or more theft by shoplifting convictions on your record, any subsequent theft by shoplifting charge will be a felony. Has that been explained to you?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
All right. You would have to give up your constitutional rights to have a trial before the trial fact. You would also have to give up your right to have counsel so that you could go back to a trial, confront your accuser, examine witnesses, present your defenses, challenge the state's evidence, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. You have to give up all these rights. Are you prepared to do so?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to 1 count of theft by shoplifting?
Plead guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 158 days, credit for time served 79 days. If you have no other holds, you should be released within 24 hours. You have to report to probation by June 13th or within 48 hours, whichever you choose. While you're on probation, your probation fees will be waived for June, July, and August. Probation fees will begin on September 1st, 2022. While on probation, you'll complete an anti-theft class, and if you finish the class, your probation will be non-reporting. At all times, you have to stay away from the Exxon gas station at 400 Edgewood Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions about your sentence?
No, ma'am, y'all.
All right, thank you.
Next up, we have position 29. Training.
Should we have a Tyree Moore in the courtroom too?
Repeat the name.
Position 27, Tyree Moore. Okay, so Mr. Moore was not brought? Okay. Okay, position 29, I have Michael Shannon. Is that correct? Are you Mr. Michael Shannon?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, your case is 22 CR 000204F. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Helen. Charges brought against you, 1 charge brought against you is criminal trespass with respect to a Chevron gas station location. Mr. Shannon, this is going to be also a negotiated plea. So please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Segura?
The state's recommendation is 12 months to serve 58 days, credit for time served 29 days, balance suspended, and a stay away from a Chevron gas station located at 1222 West Marietta Street, Northwest Atlanta. Thank you.
Ms. Helen, do we stipulate to the factual basis venue and ID?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay. Shannon, have you consumed any kind of medication, drugs, or alcohol recently?
No.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes.
And are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes.
Is anyone forcing you to or inducing you to take a plea today?
No.
If you decide to go ahead with the plea, you would have to give up your constitutional rights to go back to court, to have a trial before a judge or a jury, to be represented by counsel so that you could challenge the state's case, to confront your accuser, examine witnesses, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes.
How do you plead to 1 count of criminal trespass?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 58 days, credit for time served 28 days, balance suspended. Your time in the jail is concluded. If you have no other holds, you should be released within 24 hours. However, once released, you are to always stay away from the Chevron gas station at 1222 West Marietta Street in Northwest Atlanta. Understood? I'm sorry, understood?
Yes.
All right, thank you. That concludes this case.
39.
Are you Merrill Idris Whitlock?
Yes.
Case number is 22 CR 003043F. Mr. Whitlock, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Catrice Helen. This is going to be a negotiated plea. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Mr. Whitlock, you've been accused of battery and theft by shoplifting. And Mr. Segura, what is the state's recommendation?
The state's recommendation is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days, balance probated, 12-week anger management, an anti-theft course, a stay away from the Texaco gas station located at 1975 Campbellton Road, Southwest Atlanta, and no further contact with Imam Lakhani. Imam spelled I-M-R-A-N, Lakhani spelled L-A-K-H-A-N-I. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Helen?
Yes, Your Honor, that is our understanding of the plea. We do stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID. This is a probated sentence, so we're just asking for the probation fees to be waived. And once those conditions are completed, if the state is amenable, if you can go non-reporting.
All right. Any objection to non-reporting?
I would. We spoke with the victim and he said he's afraid and does not want to have the defendant come near him, as the defendant, Mr. Lakhani, said that when the defendant was aggressive with him, basically attacked him because I think at one point he said to Mr. Lakhani to go back to his country. And Mr. Lakhani also stated recently that the defendant knows his vehicle and they're simply afraid of him. So I feel like we have to probate it still be not after a couple of times. We will have to balance probate it.
Any response, Ms. Helen?
Understood, Judge. Taking in the victim statement, we do understand.
All right. So he will be on active probation for the remainder of the 11 months that 11 and a half months, actually. I will waive probation fees up to and including October of 2022, during which time he needs to obtain a job. He will continue to report to probation and start paying probation fees from November 1st, 2022.
Yeah.
All right. Mr. Woodard, would you still like to move forward with this plea?
I can't, I'm disabled vet. I'm unable to work. I'm on public assistance and food stamps. I'm unable to work at this time. I'm a disabled vet, so I don't have any source of income.
All right, so on November 1st, 2022, you would need to make sure that portion of your income goes towards probation fees.
I don't have any income. I'm completely assisted housing and food stamps, EBT. I'm on house Atlanta house choice house voucher, whatever, as a disabled veteran.
Let me see. In 2017, you were arrested for theft by receiving stolen property in Atlanta.
No.
I'm looking at your booking sheet, sir. 2017.
I was arrested for what again?
Mr. Whitlock, I advise you not to make any statements. If you'd like to move forward with the plea, we can move forward, but if we need to take a sidebar and talk, we can do that. I just don't want you to make any statements against yourself, okay, or your history.
All right, I understand.
This is a 2017 charge. So that's the 2017 charge that we're dealing with. He has an open theft. Hang on, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. No, I'm so sorry. No, Miss Helen, please disregard what I just said.
Understood.
So many cases, I clicked on the wrong one, sorry. Here we
I can
go.
pull it up as well on Odyssey, Judge.
Mhm. All right. Do we have pre-trial over here? Ms. Roberts? This is position 39.
And Judge, I don't see any other bookings under the jailings in Odyssey, so yeah.
No, I'm just wanting to know whether there are any arrests in other jurisdictions. Ms. Roberts, can you hear me? Pre-trial? Oh, I can't get that. Okay. All right, I'll agree to waive all, yes. Ms.
I can
Roberts?
hear you. I'm sorry. I had got kicked out of Zoom.
No problem. Position 39, we're addressing Merrill Idris Whitlock. I was wondering whether he's served time and any convictions in the past.
1 second. What was the last name?
Whitlock, position 39.
I have to reconnect to Global Protect because my computer shut off. So it's going to be 1 minute. It's loading up.
Mr. Segura, do you have a GCIC on Mr. Whitlock?
Check it. Yeah, I have his multi-state and he has Illinois from 2008. Let's see, he was arrested for unlawful use of a weapon and possession of cannabis.
Anything recently in the last 5 years or something? Or? I'll just see. Ms. Roberts, how are we doing?
No, not recently.
Okay.
Load it back up. I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay. Miss Helen, your client for 27, position Tyree Moore?
Yes, Your Honor.
That case has been, that transferred to Superior Court.
I did have a note of that. I did inform him of that. I thought they were going to bring him to court and they would announce it, but.
Okay. What about position 30, Raven Scherer? What are we doing?
I had position 30 was released, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Roberts, yes, we're dealing with position 39, Merrill Whitlock. Do you have any arrests from other jurisdictions in the last 5 years or so?
Loading. It's moving really slow.
Okay, just interrupt when you've got it ready, okay?
Okay.
Let's see. All right. Miss Helen, did we take a plea on Tiffany Thomas, position 34?
Yes, Your Honor, that was a negotiated plea.
Okay. I think that almost takes care of. Those were the only ones.
For me,
left.
Your Honor, I just have Mr. Whitlock before us and as well as the DV calendar.
Okay. Way behind on that. Yeah, we'll get those. All right, Ms. Roberts, how are we doing? You know,
It's still loading. I'm not sure why it's moving so
okay,
slow.
that's all right. Miss Helen, I will agree to a waiver of probation fees, but he needs to report to probation every month.
Did you hear that, Mr. Whitlock?
Yes.
And if he gets arrested again for anything, I'm authorizing probation to file a warrant for probation revocation. All right. Mr. Whitlock, do you still want to proceed with the plea?
Yes.
Have you consumed any kind of medication recently?
No.
Have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes.
If you decide to take this plea, you will have to waive your constitutional right to go back to court, to have a trial before a judge or a jury, to confront your accuser, examine witnesses, to be able to challenge the state's evidence and argue your case to the judge or jury, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with your representation from Ms. Helen?
Yes, very.
And is anyone forcing you to take a plea today?
No.
How do you plead to 1 count of battery and 1 count of theft by shoplifting?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days. You will report to probation no later than June 13, 2022, at which time you will provide them with your current address, phone number, and email. Do you understand?
I don't have a phone number well, I can get an email, but I don't have a phone. I just have an address though. I do have an address.
All right. And what is your address?
1895 Plaza, Plaza Lane, apartment 136, Atlanta, Georgia, 30311.
Repeat the street name again.
Plaza Lane, Plaza, and then
Got it.
second floor.
Okay. While you're on probation, you will complete a 12-week anger management program at your expense.
Do you know how much? Do you know how much that costs?
Anywhere from 20 to 50 bucks. So you have to shop around.
Every week or just
Every week.
Okay, I should be able. All right.
I'm waiving your probation fees. The money has to go somewhere.
I understand. I should be able to get that from.
You can either pay for the anger management classes or probation fees, which is about 50 bucks a month.
I'll do the anger, which is the cheaper. Anger management is cheaper, correct?
Anger management, yes.
Yes, I'll do the anger management, yeah.
You also have to pay for an anti-theft class. It's 1 class.
Okay, it's just 1 class?
Yep, and you have the rest of the 11 months to finish it.
All right, not a problem, ma'am.
And you're to stay away from the Texaco gas station at 1975 Campbellton Road.
Yes.
You cannot be on the parking lot. You cannot be on its sidewalks. You cannot be on its front door. You definitely cannot be inside. That entire gas station and its surrounding property is completely off for you. Understood?
Yes.
Importantly, you're not to have any contact with Imran Lakhani, the gentleman who works at the property. You're to stay 200 yards away from him. You're not to talk to him, discuss him on social media, and you're definitely not to try and send him any messages through a phone, through an electronic device, or through a third party. If you violate any of these conditions, including the stay away and no contact, your probation can be revoked and you could end up spending the rest of the time in prison.
Understood.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Position 5.
All right, Miss Helen, I think that completes your list of cases.
We are splitting the DB calendar, so.
Okay, I was going to ask you if you are doing, on the DB calendar, who do you represent?
Position 2, Your Honor, Mr. White, who's present.
Okay, do you need to speak to him?
No, Your Honor, we've already spoken.
All right, let me finish courtroom 2 then. And who represents Aramide? Oh, my goodness, Aramide.
I do, Judge.
And is he or she present?
He is present on the Zoom.
Okay, good. Do you need to speak to him?
We've already spoke.
Okay. Okay, position number 5, we have Damian Bradbury, is that correct?
That's correct. Bradbury.
Yes, Judge.
All right. Mr. Damian Jamar Bradbury is case number 22 CR 002949C, in which he's been accused of a misdemeanor simple battery. Do you waive a reading of the accusation, Mr. Finley?
I do, Judge.
All right. Mr. Bradbury, you've been advised of your right to remain silent about the facts of the case. Your attorney is Mr. Finley. You have been accused of a misdemeanor simple battery from May 14, 2022, allegedly in Fulton County, Georgia. In this particular case, you are legally presumed innocent of the charge, and upon your entry of a not guilty plea, the case will be scheduled for trial, at which time the state has the complete burden to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. If the state carries its burden of proof, you could be convicted and face a penalty of up to a year in prison and or up to $1,000 fine. Given this information, how do you plead?
Excuse me, Ms. Honor, can you repeat that information? Because, I mean, please excuse me, Your Honor, before you make your proceeding, can you please be modest and decent? During this proceeding moment, has this case been thoroughly reviewed? I am innocent. I know I have made mistakes in the past. I also know the prosecutor
Mr. Bradbury.
out to recall past cases. And
Mr. Bradbury.
on this case, I was emasculated.
Mr. Bradbury, please do not speak to the facts of the case. They will be used against you, sir. I'm looking out for you. Please.
Yeah, I'm not.
Let me speak for you, sir.
I heard. I want to hear the prosecuting attorney's offer, because what I just heard is BS.
Mr. Walker, do you have an offer for this case?
Yes, Your Honor, we do. The state's offer is 12 months to serve 60 days, credit for time served of 8 days. I'm sorry, let me start over. 12 months to serve, apparently he has 2 cases. So, but the one that's before the court right now is 12 months to serve 120 days, credit for time served 17 days, balance probated, 12 weeks anger management and no contact with the victim, whose name is Keita Boutry, Boutire is the last name.
All right. And he does have another case. Oh, he's already left.
Oh.
Mr. Bradbury, please come back. I've not released you.
Look, ma'am, I was innocent.
Okay, so we're going to, if you're innocent, then you're pleading not guilty. Is that correct?
Ma'am,
Please come back and sit in the chair before you speak.
Because I have not had sleep 4 days behind this accusation, because I called the police because these people assaulted me.
Yeah, Mr. Bradbury, please do not speak.
And I have to do time for people assaulting me, and I'm tired of being abused by people. And I got to go through this. This is
Do you want to address this case, your cases on Thursday or next Thursday?
Me and my attorney talked about this yesterday, said that I was going to have to serve 32 more days in jail if I plead not guilty.
Mr. Bradbury, but that's if you plead guilty, and we discussed you're going to plead not guilty, and I'm going to speak on your behalf regarding bond.
And if you said you was going to try to give me a doggone signature bond today, man, I ain't even heard of that.
I said I was going to address bond and try to get you bond.
Like this case doesn't even like it was reviewed last night.
Mr. Bradbury, listen to me very carefully.
Yes,
very carefully. Listen very carefully. If you keep interrupting your attorney, I'm going to not let you speak anymore, and we will reset your case to Thursday. Do you understand?
Thursday.
Do you understand?
Judge, Miss Judge,
do you understand?
No, Judge, because I haven't had
All right. If you keep interrupting your attorney again, I will reset the case to this Thursday. If you still behave this way, I will reset the case to next Thursday. And we will keep resetting the case until you learn to behave. Do you understand?
Yes, Judge. Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Finley, you may complete your sentence.
Okay. Yes, I I was hoping to be able to address bond for him. I don't know if you want me to go ahead with that. Judge.
Okay, you will address bond, but first, we need to hear him say not guilty so that I can schedule the case for trial, and he will have every opportunity to challenge this charge in a court of law with the assistance of counsel. But in the meantime, he needs to understand that if I need to repeat the information, I will. But he needs to let me know whether he's pleading not guilty so that he can get a trial date as well as address his bond and possibly amend his bond. That's all I can promise right now.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
Okay.
Mr. Bradbury, please respond to the judge in a polite manner.
Yes.
Regarding whether you're pleading guilty or not guilty.
Okay, Judge, during this proceeding, I would like to be compensated about my torn objects that I paid for because they ripped my hand-stitched tailor-made suit, which was worth $1,000.
Mr. Bradbury,
I would like to be compensated for items that were messed up.
Mr. Bradbury, the judge is going to rightfully so reset this if you don't let me speak on your behalf. So if you could let me address bond and just do not speak to the facts surrounding your case, please.
I would like to take the offer that we talked about yesterday.
Mr. Bradbury, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say about the facts of the case in this proceedings will be recorded and used against you by the prosecutor. You have a right to an attorney. Mr. Findling is speaking on your behalf. You are legally presumed innocent of the charge of simple battery that allegedly occurred on May 14, 2022 in Fulton County. Upon your entry, upon your statement of not guilty, that indicates your intention of challenging this case in a court of law. And I will accept that plea of not guilty and have the case scheduled for trial. At the time of the trial, only the prosecutor has the complete burden to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. If the prosecutor does not succeed, you will be acquitted. If the prosecution, however, does succeed, you could be convicted and face a penalty of up to a year in prison and or up to $1,000 fine. Given this information, at the present time, do you plead not guilty?
I'm guilty.
Okay. So then we will reset this case to this Thursday to address this case, 22 CR 002-949C, and the other open case, 21 CR 001-521C, for a possible plea. Thank you, Mr. Bradbury.
Thank you, U.S. Ms. Farmer. You a decent lady.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. This is reset to June 2nd, both the cases. And do you see the other case on the calendar, Ms. Grace? Okay, Mr. Finn, what is the next case for Mr. Findlay?
Excuse me, Judge?
What's your next case?
Oh,
I'm trying to see if there's anything on.
trying to see if
I have
that.
Antonio Chambers, position 10.
Oh.
That's going to be an arraignment and bond hearing. Is he in the courtroom?
Oh, Antonio Chambers going to be medical reset. He had got COVID yesterday.
Okay, so position 10 is a medical reset.
Yeah, medical reset. Yeah, he just got COVID, I was told.
Okay, do you want to do it next Tuesday then?
Yes, please.
Okay, so this will be medical reset to next Tuesday, which is June 7th. All right. Position 12, Coleman.
And he was a loan to Grady.
Grady.
And then there was one more loan out as well, which was number 4.
Okay. Yeah, and 13, Whitney Craig.
And they were unable, the South Annex was unable to get her. They told she would not.
Okay, reset to June 7th.
Yes, please.
Randall Davis, position 15.
And he's
15 through 17.
Yeah, I emailed with Mr. Michael Jordan yesterday, and Mr. Jordan's going to reset him till this Thursday.
So reset to June 2nd, June 2nd, June 2nd, 15, 16, and 17.
That's correct.
Okay, I think courtroom 2 is also concluded. It may pop up. So let's address, yeah, oh, we had another one, Mahogany Whitaker.
Which calendar are you referring to?
Add-on calendar, Mahogany Neosea Whitaker. I don't have an announcement for that.
Which position, Judge?
Just one. Case number 22 CR 003-132C.
I believe she was released on her page. It shows a gray J.
Released and Mrs. Segura, is that confirmed?
I'm not sure it's confirmed, but on the summary it shows it's gray, so probably is.
All right. Okay, add-on Whitaker has been released, so that's further notice to trial. State versus Tellis White, case number 22 CR 00530D. This is the motion to set aside the domestic violence bench warrant issued against Mr. White for an alleged offense date from June 29th, 2020. Mr. White is present. Mr. White, my name is Judge Law. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Ms. Catrice Helen. All right. This is a motion to set aside a bench warrant. Mr. Segura, is the state still proceeding with the bench warrant?
We would, as the two cases in which that letter for the court was sent to the defendant, both on April the 26th and on May the 6th, at the same location in which it's on file, and which on the email that was sent to him, which still retains the exact same address, but for some reason it was returned. So I feel like the burden is still on the defendant to have a good address and check his mail.
So you don't have a challenge then?
No.
I'm sorry, Mr. Segura, is that a yes?
Yes, we want to have the bench warrant remain in place, as the bond is still on the defendant, keep a good address, and that these two, when he received the letters for court, it was sent to the exact same address, both on April the 26th and May the 6th, exact same location. Well, it's currently on file, so we're not sure exactly why it was returned, but we feel like it's still on the defendant to keep a good address and check his mail.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. Or
go ahead, Ms. Helen.
Yes, Your Honor. I am aware of those two failure to appears in April and May. And when I spoke to Mr. White, he was not. I brought up the 2233 Beecher Road Southwest address. At that time, he was under the impression it was 2233 Beecher Road Southwest, Atlanta, Georgia 30311. It's in fact 2235, Judge. So we have an up-to-date address. We have his email address, Tellis White, Tellis, Tellis, White, common spelling, 150@gmail.com. I also have his cell phone number, Judge. So when I spoke to him again, he was not aware of these two failure to appears just recently. And he gave me an up-to-date address, up-to-date email, up-to-date phone number. Judge, he does have two small boys he's a proud father of. He's currently employed right now, Judge. So to be incarcerated for this bench warrant would be pretty devastating to him and his family. We are asking for one more opportunity for Mr. White to be able to respond to his court notices, appear to all court dates, and contact the clerk. And even when I spoke to him, he did go to the clerk's office and update it on May the 23rd. of this month. It just was inaccurate. And so when I contacted,
So is correct, street number is 2235. All right, so Mr. Jordan, he listed, when he filed the motion to set aside, he listed as 2233.
I have that right in front of me, Judge, and I asked him that myself. It was a mistake by Mr. White. And I will just inform the court, Mr. White is reporting to probation 3 times a week. Again, he is a father. He is working. He does have those 2 small children. He is just trying to juggle it. And that was a mistake. That's why I called him up and got an up-to-date address. And that was our big topic. Let's get this address correct. But he's responding to all emails. I do have an up-to-date cell phone number, Judge. Again, we are asking for this bench warrant to be set aside. Give Mr. White one more chance to come to these court dates and appear and essentially resolve this case.
All right. I need to ask Mr. White, I need to place him under oath and so he can articulate his correct address. Please unmute, Mr. White. All right. You know how to unmute the Zoom? There you go. Well, you got it for a second. There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. White, you filed a motion to set aside the bench warrant. I'm looking at your handwriting. You did fill it out yourself, did you?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide for the purpose of this motion only is the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
What is your correct address, mailing address?
2235 Beecher Road, Southwest, Atlanta, Georgia, 30311.
Your phone number?
404-979. 40979-1837.
And your email is telluswhite150@gmail.com?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, you know you wrote it wrong, right?
Yes, ma'am.
With an arrest warrant on your head, you wrote it wrong.
I've been overwhelmed, Your Honor. I'm sorry for inconvenience.
Mr. Segura, anything else to add?
Nothing else to add.
All right, I'm going to set aside the bench warrant. Ms. Helen, just go ahead and send me a proposed order. Your next court date is going to be sent to you by Judge Edline. All right?
Yes,
and you must appear in court because the second time non-failure, I mean, you just make sure you bring a bag of money into the jail.
We'll be there.
All right. This is still an active criminal case against you. You have to comply with the conditions of your bond. All right. And one of the conditions is maintaining a current address with the court at all times. So,
yes, ma'am.
Let me see. I think you had a 3,000 plus bond, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, no further contact with Shantae Thomas and to stay away from the Lakewood Avenue location, no weapons, no alcohol, and no drugs. All right, your judge is Susan Edline. That is the chief judge of State Court of Fulton County. So if you don't show up again, well, you know, that's all on you, like this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
State versus Miss Aramine. How do you say the last name, Mr. Finley?
I was struggling with it as well.
Okay.
Sir, how do you pronounce, what's the correct way to spell or pronounce your last name?
As soon as he starts his video and there we go. All right, unmute your screen, sir. It's next to the start video.
All right, gotcha.
There we go. Okay. How do you pronounce your name, sir?
Aramide Adefemiwa.
Mr. Aramide Adefemiwa.
Adefemiwa.
Dave Femiwa.
Correct.
Dave Femiwa, okay. A remedy, so, okay. Mr. Dave Femiwa, this is case number 22 CR 0000642D, in which you were accused of battery, domestic violence from December 12, 2021. You have a right to remain silent about the facts of your case. Anything you say, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Mr. Zach Finling. All right, looks like your case is assigned to Judge Edline, and she issued the warrant for your arrest on May 17, 2022 for failure to appear in court. So, Mr. Finling, what's the argument to set aside?
Yes, Judge. So he did get a return, or there was a return to sender, it looks like, on April 21st. So supposedly the unit number was left off of, he provided his unit number, so it does not seem that it was his mistake, but it looks like the unit number was left off, so that's why there was return to sender, because it just went overall to the complex. He does work in the car rental business. He has 2 kids that he looks after and that live with him, ages 9 and 1. I did verify his address, and that is a good address, and should get to him if it does have, you know, the unit number.
So it's the same address, but at 1010 unit?
Yeah, so from what he says, they did not have the unit number on the mail, and that's why it was returned to sender.
Okay.
And since he was made aware of the missed court date, he has made a point to have steady communication with the court, and unequivocally says that if he did get proper notice, he definitely would have been there. And I did obviously, once again, verify that address and also have a good phone number and have a good email for him. And I'm very confident that he will be at the next court date.
And Your Honor,
Hey,
if
Ms.
I could,
Walker.
if
Yes,
I
sir.
could address the court. So I did see the return of address, and I did see that the unit number was left off. However, that's not the issue in this case. The issue in this case is that the defendant has intentionally chose to not follow by the court's orders. If you were to check the bond order on this case, there is a stay away for that same exact address. We have spoke with the victim. The victim did advise that both her and the defendant are aware that there's a no contact order and a stay away address for the very address that he provided to the court as his current residency. So based upon that, and based upon that he's already FTA'd, this is not his first arrest. He has another pending felony matter. This is not his first rodeo. There's not an issue of confusion. There's not an issue of confusion. The defendant knows what he's doing, and we're asking that the bench warrant remains intact and he's remaining into custody, as there is a no contact and a stay away for the address that he just provided to the court.
All right, so Mr. Finling, we have a problem. The bond order expressly tells him he has to stay away from unit 1010 Park Avenue. And now we see that he's living there.
And we spoke to the victim, and she advised that they both were aware of the no contact order.
So
But they decide to live together.
right,
When the defendant has decided to return to the address against the court's orders.
When I spoke to him, obviously, you know, the first time I'd ever spoken to him in my life was about 10:30 p.m. last night.
Oh dear, okay.
So, you know, I'm obviously only been familiar with this case for, you know, not even.
That's perfect. I'd like to see his, all right.
So,
All right.
you know, I did bring it up with him because I asked, and he.
Mr. Adafameva, seems like the address you provided indicates that you are violating the bond order.
That's the address I get to receive my
Do
mail.
you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
You cannot provide that address. You're not supposed to live at that address. You're not supposed to have any contact whatsoever with that address and the occupants of that address.
I don't. I actually just go and get my mail from the concierge. I don't.
Mr. Adam Fameva, you
Correct.
don't make the rules. You've got a criminal active case against you and you have a bench warrant for failure to appear. I don't care whether the address is wrong. Now, the problem is that you violated the bond order.
I mean, I can provide the address that I'm at, which is the.
Mr. Adam Fameva, you have violated the bond order. You have returned to the location from where you're not supposed to have any contact.
No, I'm not. I haven't returned to the location. I just received mail there. It's the most.
Okay.
It's the only place I know I can get my mail.
All right. Anything else you want to tell me?
No, I haven't returned to that address. I just get mail there. But I wasn't aware I couldn't receive mail there because we have a concierge downstairs. So.
Anything else, Mr. Finley?
Nothing further, Judge.
All right. Mr. Adefumwa, I find that you have violated the express terms of the bond order. You run the risk of if the concierge is within 200 yards of unit 1010, which is the length of 2 football fields, then you would have clearly, based on your testimony, violated the no further contact order. You are going to report to the jail, surrender yourself, and close out this bench warrant. I'm going to issue a bond of $3,000 through pretrial services, and you're going to report to pretrial once a month. You're not to receive mail. You're not to receive any packages. You're not to use the location at Park Avenue for any services. You are to stay away from that location. Based on the information the prosecutor has provided, if they receive more information that you are actually living with the alleged victim at that unit, then it's up to the prosecutor to decide whether they want to take out a warrant for aggravated stalking, which is a means that you violated a no further contact order. So that's entirely up to the prosecutor at the present time. So you have to report, today is Tuesday, May 31st. You have to surrender to the jail by the close of business on June 1st, 2022. That's tomorrow. Your bond will be set at $3,000 signature bond through pretrial services. And Mr. Finley, you're going to do the proposed order?
I will, Judge. And so that was a $3,000 signature bond.
Bond through pretrial, correct.
Got it. Thank you.
Let me just give you no further contact with, I think her name is Tris Harris. I have a spelling of Trier Harris. Is that correct? Mr. Walker?
Yes, Your Honor. I have Trier Harris.
Stay away from 1000 Park Avenue, the entire building.
Judge, I feel like there's a misunderstanding here.
There's no misunderstanding based on your testimony. I've not misunderstood you.
I have not been to that address.
You went to the concierge of that location.
No. I was saying I provided the address last night so that I can get the mail. I was describing the process to you. I didn't say I went to the concierge. I never went to the concierge. The first mail was delivered undeliverable. I never went there. I was telling you I provided that address because it's the most secure address that I know, so I don't miss court again. I never said that I went there. I was just describing the process as somebody who had lived it before. And the information, with all due respect, that the prosecutor has provided, I literally have no idea. I don't know what he's referring to when he says that we live together, or it's not. It's not accurate.
Do you have a different address where you're living?
Yes, my Airbnb.
The bond order says if defendant changes address, shall notify in writing the clerk of state court. Immediately notify.
And Your Honor, if I could respond, I don't know.
No, there's no need to, Mr. Walker. I think he's just dug his own grave.
Okay.
No,
This bench warrant shall be executed. I'm not setting it aside. You're to report to the jail by 5 o'clock tomorrow. Well, let's do it let's do it 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning. You know where it is, right?
I'm sorry?
You know where the jail is, right?
I'm assuming it's Rice Street.
Perfect. Good, good. Go to the intake division and the bench warrant needs to be brought in. You will be processed and then you'll be released to pretrial services where they will set up a case for you and you report to pretrial once a month. And make sure that you also, maybe by today, just come down and give us your current address where you live. Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand. Yes.
No contact with Tria Harris. He's to stay 200 yards away from her. He's not to communicate with her in person, through mail, through a third party. Is Miss Harris is in the same room with you? I do not know at the present time. She must understand that if she's living with you at all times, she has facilitated a possibility of you facing a felony charge of aggravated stalking. All right, we'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. at Wright Street Jail. Make sure that you surrender yourself and maintain a current living address. And Mr. Finling, make sure that he's staying away from the entire building at 1000 Park Avenue. As
Yes,
long
sir.
as Miss Harris lives there, he cannot return to that property.
Understood. I'm gonna put that in the bottom order.
All right. All right. Any other questions, Mr. Adefamebe?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Good. Make sure you're at the jail at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Thank you. All right, that concludes this case. Going down the calendar real fast. The add-on, Ms. Whitaker, she was released on the bench warrant calendar, position 1, a not set aside. He has to report by June 1st, 9 a.m. $3,000 signature bond to pretrial services with the same conditions, and to update the court with his current mailing address, which is where he's residing, not the victim's property. With Tellis White, the bench warrant was set aside. On the main SAP calendar, position 1 and 2 have been arraigned and further notice. Position 3 reset to June 9 for a possible plea. Position 4 loaned out to Brady. We're going to reset that case to, if there's a loan out, do you think June 9th is too soon?
Let's see, what day is that?
That's next Thursday.
Next Thursday. I say, yeah, if we could try that.
All right, reset to June 9th. Position 4, that was position 4, reset to June 9th. Position 7, Ray Brewer. 5 and 6 is reset. 5 and 6, Bradbury is reset to June 2nd. 6, Braxton is arraigned and further notice for trial. I have position 7, Ray Cornelius Brewer. What's going on there?
I had reset down. I'm not sure where I got that from.
Reset June 14th. Okay, that might be an MH issue. Okay. Moving on, position 8, Alexis Brown is reset June 2nd. Sam Carson is a plea. Position 10 is a medical reset to June 7th. Position 11 is arraigned and further notice for trial. Position 12 is a loan out to Brady. Mr. Finling, is June 9th a possibility, or we can do it? We can do it not June 9th, but June 14th.
We can try, yeah, June 14th is fine.
All right, so position 12, Coleman is reset to June 14th, SAP. Whitney Craig, position 13, reset to June 7th. Position 14 is plea, 15 is reset to June 2nd, 16, 17, June 2nd. Position 18, 19, and 20, and 21 are pleas. 22, 23, 24, 25 are pleas. 26 is a plea, 27 is a transfer to felony court, 28, 29 is our pleas, 30 is release, 31 is a plea, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38 are pleas, 39, 40 are pleas. Okay, I think that concludes the SAP portion. We have a competency calendar? No.
I think not for today, Your Honor.
Okay.
Not that I saw.
All right, so then we conclude our calendar for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge.
Bye.
Ms. Helen, send me your proposed order, and Mr. Finding, send me your proposed order, mail it to Catalia Middlebrooks, whom I've been calling Miss Grace for this whole morning, so. All right.
All right,
Well,
will
at
do.
least I didn't get the names on the screens confused. All right.